are listening to a free version of Majority Report with Sam Seder. To support the show and get another 15 minutes of daily program, go to majority.fm, please.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder, where every day's Casual Friday. That means Monday is Casual Monday, Tuesday, Casual Tuesday, Wednesday, Casual Hump Day, Thursday, Casual Thurs, that's what we call it, and Friday, Casual Shabbat. The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
It is Friday, April 21st, 2017. My name is Sam Seder. This is the four-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, it's Casual Friday, folks. I'm wearing my soft-collared shirt and my Zumbas. On the program today, Cliff Schecter will be joining us. And to talk about the horrible unintended consequence of Bill O'Reilly and his $25 million habit of sexually assaulting people, women. Andy Kindler will be here to pay homage to the D-Man.
Bap, 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 bap. It's like that movie with this event and then something homophobic.
Also on the program today, Jeff Sessions attacks the federal judiciary. The Trump administration desperately wants to do something in its first 100 days that doesn't involve just disenfranchising black people from voting, still seeking Obamacare repeal, and also possibly headed towards a government shutdown. We still don't know why Jason Chaffetz is retiring. Bill O'Reilly, of course, getting paid millions of dollars to harass women. Why is the lead DOJ Trump-Russia investigator leaving the DOJ?
It's a tricky jab, and it's true.
And the Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs, you've never heard of it, but you will feel the consequences of its nominee for perhaps years to come. Meanwhile, Justice Department weighs charging Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. And a French election 2 days away, campaigning largely halted, not totally, in the wake of a terror attack. All this and more on today's Majority Report, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it is Friday. Looking back upon the week, a little bit of house cleaning next week. I'll be here at the beginning of the week, but the last couple of days of the week, I will be in Las Vegas for the biannual tort conference that I attend, and hopefully we'll have a lot of good stories and interviews with tort lawyers there in Las Vegas. And, again, as you see, particularly in eras like this, but just more broadly speaking, I mean, there are two things that I think make tort lawyers even more important to our society than that are influenced by, I guess, the politics that are going on. One is a conservative-dominated Supreme Court. And you will see, in addition to rulings now from a 5-4 court to increase the number of people who are executed, let's say, or to force our society to become, I guess, to recognize the religious concerns of things like corporations and whatnot. The other thing that you will see is this court will constrain and narrow the opportunities citizens, broadly speaking, have for redress when the environment is attacked, when drug companies produce dangerous drugs knowingly, market knowingly dangerous drugs, and just any other actions. Essentially, you'll hear people say, like, the courthouse doors have been barred, and this is the case. I mean, for example, AT&T Concepcion, which I believe was, 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 5. And in a 5-4 decision, the court basically said that when there's an arbitration agreement, like, for instance, you have an AT&T contract, and they're stealing, not stealing, like accidentally overcharging you $3 a month. And they happen to be doing this for another several hundred thousands of their customers. In this case, it was in California. You're not going to get an attorney to take your individual case for that, whatever it was, $36 over the course of the past 3 years. But if you form a class and this attorney is representing the hundreds of thousands of AT&T clients in California, let's say, they will take the case and they will send a message to other phone companies like, hey, you can't do this, as a matter of course. Well, the Supreme Court in that AT&T Concepcion case basically said, we're not going to allow you to form a class action in this instance. We're going to see a lot more of that. And then the other element is that you have regulatory agencies that are not going to be doing their job, essentially, in providing regulations to protect the health and safety of citizens, of workers, of consumers. And it's tort lawyers that step in. And even in the context of the banking crisis and the financial crisis and basically the big mortgage fraud, we saw government basically do nothing. And to the extent that it did anything in like those major mortgage deals, one headed up, I think, Schneiderman here in New York, the vast majority of work that was done that laid the foundation for those deals was done by private tort attorneys representing the pension fund of, the University of Pennsylvania or something like that. So, and I enjoy going to Las Vegas because I always like to lose money playing blackjack. All right, let's go to, I just found this from last week, I guess it was, or the beginning of this week. It was the grand finale of the celebrations commemorating Kim Il-sung's 105th birthday. Now,
Great guy.
Apparently he's passed away.
Yeah, the deal that Bill Clinton negotiated with him, I'm not going to do the same kind of thing with him.
Kim Il-sung, of course, was the founder of North Korea.
He's the grandfather of the current
He's
leader.
a founding father of North Korea.
The founding father.
Right.
Yes.
Literally,
Yeah.
father, capital F.
And so they put on a nice show, and it was, there's a little bit of singing. There's no dancing, but there is a wonderful video which depicts Donald Trump's foreign policy in terms of North Korea, which actually shows a missile firing and us getting blown up. Enjoy this little clip. I don't speak Korean, so I don't know what they're singing, but I imagine it is something to the effect of like, we're great and we're going to bomb our enemies. There's the missile launching, firing, the dramatic horns. The missile crosses, I guess.
Water.
Feels like it's crossing the Pacific,
Yeah.
but it looks like it's hitting New York. San Francisco. Oh, okay. And then, of course, you see the American flag burning in the cemetery. So,
And obviously, with our politics and inclinations on this show, it's just kind of heartwarming to see that.
oh, we're totally pro that.
Yeah, we love that.
We're totally
Yeah,
pro that. But not so much San Francisco.
Right. We would prefer that they target like.
Orange County.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. All right. We're going to take a quick break.
It must be so hard for Trump when he sees something like that because on one hand, it's the enemy, and then on the other hand, it's like I couldn't even get tanks to roll down the street for my inauguration, and these guys have an awesome band. They got bombs going off,
Why don't
CGI.
we didn't get the. Let's do this.
Yeah, what's going on?
His big infrastructure program is going to be to reinforce the streets of Washington so that he can have that parade he wants. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Cliff Schecter. We are back. Sam Seder on the Majority Report. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Casual Friday, but there's nothing casual about this tune.
Cliff Schecter, Libertas LLC. New media, public relations, and strategy. You want any of these services, you know who you gotta see. Cliff Schecter, LibertasLLC.com.
Hello, Cliff. How are you?
I'm doing well, Sam. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. All things considered, another fun.
All things have to always be considered when it comes to this mess.
Yeah, rather strange era. Again, I think we say this every Friday as we look back on another a week in the era of Trumphood, and of course, this one we had some big news that was sort of tangentially Trump, but we will get to Bill O'Reilly in a bit. But
yes.
But I want to start with this, which I found really disturbing and which has been covered on the news, but I think not really necessarily in the most relevant of way. Here is Jeff Sessions. He is the Attorney General of the United States, the chief law enforcement officer, theoretically the maybe the highest ranking officer of the court, aside from, judges, of course, in the country. And here he is on the Mark Levin show.
We are confident that the president will prevail on appeal, and particularly in the Supreme Court, if not the Ninth Circuit. So this is a huge matter. I really am amazed that a judge sitting on an island in the Pacific can issue an order that stops the President of the United States from what appears to be clearly his statutory and constitutional powers.
Now, he's obviously
So much to comment on.
Well,
there.
yeah, and just to set the table, I'll let you comment. He's obviously talking about the Muslim ban that was enjoined from going into effect by a federal judge in Hawaii. Go.
Well, let's start with this is what happens. This is sort of what the Trump era has unleashed. And it's not like it was immediately just Donald Trump. It's been a long, slow process downward for the Republican Party, especially for those who run the party. But, Jeff Sessions used to be one of those guys who sat in sort of in the back and never really got anything done and was just, his day job was being a racist, kind of like Jesse Helms. And a few of these other types like that, unreconstructed racists who made it quite clear that they bring that peculiar institution back if they could. And so, it starts off with that's what happens when these guys get put into real positions. So now people pay attention to what Jeff Sessions says. And that island in the Pacific clearly was meant to not just be condescending, but racist. It wouldn't be that way if it were an island filled with white people like Alabama. It's that island, with the Asian people and the blah, 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 and it's liberal. And so right away, and it's not part of America. It was one of the most recent ones we brought into, God help us. And then on top of that, of course, he again is showing what he's always shown, which is absolutely no respect for the judicial process, which is what he didn't show when he was in Alabama, when he was both a prosecutor and a judge, which is why he was rejected by a Republican Senate and couldn't get appointed to a federal judgeship in the 1980s, something that had only happened, I think, he didn't make a committee, if I remember correctly, something that only happened like one other time in 40 years. And why Coretta Scott King wrote the letter about him that she wrote. And, what this guy clearly, and now, of course, we know he perjured himself quite clearly. I'm sorry, you don't have to sort of try to figure it out on whether he met with the Russians or not. He's just somebody who temperamentally, ethically, and really intellectually has no business being in this position. But that makes him exactly right for this position during the Trump era. Almost perfect, really.
I find it just stunning that this guy, who is the chief lawyer of the United States government, is attacking the federal judiciary. And this is it's racist not only in the fact that it is he's sort of maligning Hawaii because ostensibly it's not really American, I guess. But it's also
right. It's an island filled with non-white people, so how could it be American?
There's also a sort of like a very pronounced neo-confederate strain here, where it's basically saying the idea of the federal judiciary having this power, there's definitely that quality of like, here comes the feds again telling us how to run our business. And it is.
By the way, those are in the days in between when he's not saying stupid things about how he should be able to go in and tell places like California that people can't smoke pot.
Right.
Because it's okay for him to do that.
Right.
It's just not okay for, right.
Go ahead. And the fact that he is the chief lawyer of the U.S. government makes it even more obscene than when Donald Trump criticizes the judiciary, in my estimation, because, to the extent that there's anybody in the executive branch who is supposed to uphold the, and have the most respect and it is most tethered to this other branch, it would be the Attorney General, right? I mean, this is and this is really scary stuff. I think that is not, at least in the coverage I've seen, it's all been focused about like, we've brought on, the senator from Hawaii to say like, his country's great. And last night I, saw Brian Williams, joking about like, Hawaii is a great place to visit. I mean, look,
Sessions. It's actually not really, you and I mean, I like to laugh as much as I can. It's not really funny. He's funny. It's sickly funny that this guy's actually our Attorney General, because people don't. I mean, and this is why when I saw sometimes the left lining up around, I never really understood, some of the things that we were united in opposing. Someone like Betsy DeVos. Yeah, she's terrible, but there's a lot she's going to do from the education department that wouldn't come from Trump anyhow. Whereas this guy, what he actually, says and does on law enforcement, there's some broad independent powers for the Attorney General. And he just, again, as you said, he's he's a Confederate. I mean, clear through and through. He still believes in the old Confederacy. He's an unreconstructed racist of in the most obvious way. He's an authoritarian in that he's happy to tell anybody else how to do their business. God forbid they come and tell him how to do his. I mean, there's Hawaii, which took it on the chin for all of us in 1941, and persevered in an unbelievable sneak attack to start World War II. And then there's Alabama, which was part of a group of states that committed the largest act of treason in the history of this country, broke away, and led to a war in this country that killed over 600,000 people. If he had any self-awareness, he'd shut the fuck up. But clearly, that's not him.
No, and I, it's that much more problematic, like I say, for the media not to hold him to account for the really the most dangerous element of this, not whether or not Hawaii is a state or that. I just find it super disturbing, but let's move on from that, and because, like you say, there was not. I mean, for whatever reason, the left does not engage as much in questions of the Supreme Court, it seems to me, and in questions of the Attorney General, it is it's problematic. I mean, with that said, I think it was only Joe Manchin who voted for Jeff Sessions, the senator, the Democratic senator from West Virginia, who shot up cap and trade, I think, with a
right.
semi-automatic rifle.
He's the only Democrat not in favor of gay marriage. I mean, for those who have been around at least a good half dozen years, he is known as the new Ben Nelson. He's that guy.
Let's talk a little bit about what's going on legislatively. We're a week out from the budget having to be basically signed off on, or we're going to have a government shutdown.
Right.
We're also
I'm kind of assuming government shutdown at this point.
Well, for a while it looked like the Democrats and the Republicans were going to negotiate something, and Trump has stepped in the middle of it now and is demanding, in exchange for the funding of subsidies in the Affordable Care Act, he is now demanding that Congress pay for his wall on the southern border. What happened to Mexico?
Here's the thing. Right. He has no leverage at all. I mean, if anything has been proven again and again in these things, there are often it's hard to discern when it comes to fights in Congress and these kinds of things, who's at fault. But when you control Congress and you control the presidency and you can't get a budget together and the government shuts down because of it, people have proven in the past they're smart enough to know who's to blame. So, as much as I don't want there to be a government shutdown, that this idiot thinks that, it's that kind of thinking that has him at 35%, that he thinks that he can let it happen and somehow try to blame the party that's in the minority in the House and the Senate and doesn't have the presidency. I wish him all the luck in the world there.
And we should also say that they are desperate to have the Affordable Care Act repealed by like day 100, which I guess is I think.
Well, he set up a list of things he would do by day 100. He chose to say this first 100 days. Nobody made him do that, and he's actually accomplished none of them. I think there were 7 things. He's not done one of them. So maybe he's hoping he at the very least he can go 1 for 7.
Yeah, from what I can tell now, we're starting to see at least the Republicans in the House and the Senate. There seems to be this quality of like, we're going to go at our own pace at this point. So, what's interesting is that we've, at least in our lifetime, I feel like we've never been here before, where a president is like, they're treating him like a lame duck almost. I mean, not quite, but almost, right? I mean, when you have the party in power and they're starting to run from him a little bit, not quite.
We've never been here at this point. I mean, that I can remember or think of, unless, during my lifetime, I guess that may include something like Jimmy Carter that I can't remember, although I don't think anything like this happened because I was too young then. But thinking about it and thinking, if you want to just talk about recent presidents, it was really always after either the first or the second midterm, right? In George W. Bush's case, it was before the second midterm and after the big Social Security debacle when he started to look very weak. And with Clinton and with Obama, it was after that first midterm disaster where some people started running. No, but we've never seen after 93 days or 94 days or whatever, where people are looking at a president, seeing a 35% approval rating, seeing that now, the majority of people in any question you ask, whether it's trusting him or thinking the country's going in the right direction or whatever, he's backwards on everything. There's a major investigation into whether he colluded with Russia that is everywhere, not to mention various other scandals sort of swirling around him from trademarks being suddenly given to him and Ivanka and whatever by China and other things that have been reported. And then there's just the practicality. If you're a congressman, you look at all that, and then you look at what happened in both that district in Kansas and what just happened in Georgia, where, Price won with 65% of the vote, and the Republicans combined couldn't get more than like 46.
Right.
I mean, they've basically lost 20 points. There've now been 3 elections in a row, 3 congressional elections, including the one in that very Democratic district in California. But even in that very Democratic district in California, they lost 20 points off of their total during the election. So if you're a lot of these guys, I would say really, we're talking, if you were to take 20 points off of the Republicans, I don't remember, it was Nate Silver or somebody said, the Republicans would lose 120 seats.
Yep.
I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm saying if you're thinking and you're a Republican congressman / woman right now, or I should say, or woman right now, and you're thinking about this, you're taking a look at things, especially if you're in one of those closer seats. I mean, they just don't have a majority to do the things they want to do. So he has no leverage. He has nothing, and that's why he's being treated like a lame duck, because he's a drag on. Most of these guys don't want him anywhere near their district at this point, or at least, no, I shouldn't say most, but I should say probably at least a third of them, and maybe more than that.
It'll be interesting to see if he forces himself on what's her name? I want to say Susan Komen, but it's not Susan Komen. Handel.
Karen Handel.
Yes, I mean it'd be pretty funny if he actually sort of force if he put a Tic Tac in his mouth and then did some robocalls on her behalf without her asking or
that
agreeing
would be
to it.
fantastic. I would like him. It's funny. Some people pointed out, I don't know that there's statistical proof for this. It may just be, because we can't isolate one factor. But it was interesting that after Trump weighed in that race, the Republicans, from what they had been polling, lost 5 points.
When you're president, you can do it. You can just call up and do it. They love it. They'll take it. Let's talk. I mean, I want to talk about Jason Chaffetz, if you have any thoughts about that. But I also want to get to, if we have time, and I don't know, it's in the wake of the Ossoff race that we have seen, sort of, I don't know, it felt like it was dormant for about a month and a half, but sort of, and part of it is this function of this Heath Mello, who's running for mayor in Nebraska, although, in Omaha, Nebraska, although weirdly, it doesn't necessarily have the same delineation But we're seeing sort of the Hillaryistas.
It's interesting to me that
the,
so many people got so worked up over a mayor's race. But
well, I mean, let's just break this down for people if they're not aware of it. So Heath Mello is running for the Omaha mayoral race, and Nebraska only has one, I think it is, congressional seat, and or two, and this
or two.
one,
They have two,
it's largely Omaha is one of them, and so if you have a mayor there for the first time, I think in I don't know generations, who is Democrat, the chances of winning that district are actually fairly good, and so people.
And that's been a swing district. Like the Democrats have won that one a few times. It's gone back and forth over the last sort of decade and a half.
And so Bernie Sanders has endorsed this guy. They are actually apparently Nebraska has three. But Bernie Sanders endorsed this guy. He's going to visit there, I think, I don't know, today, tomorrow. But also Tom Perez has endorsed him. But it was found out just a couple of days ago, and we should also say, like, Daily Kos had endorsed him, and they're sort of back. We should maybe even talk about that, which is sort of fascinating to me. But and then it came out that this guy, as a state legislator, had endorsed and voted for, I think it was vaginal probes or ultrasounds.
Yeah, it was ultrasounds.
Ultrasounds that needed to be shown to a woman before she.
And he sponsored it. He didn't just vote for it; he sponsored it.
Okay, so he sponsored it, and he has since said, like, well, as mayor, I would never do that. But, you know, sort of like qualifying, like, if I was a state legislator, I would do that again. It's
also, again, it's a much bigger thing to me, you know, and I'm not saying that I would support him with a lot of trepidation. I want to support as many Democrats as I can who are for the right position on as many issues as possible. I'd have to be there to make that decision. But I will say it's a big difference to me, and this is an issue I care a lot about, when somebody sponsors something versus just either voting for it or abstaining or doing something else. Because, you know, sometimes some other people bring up stuff and you don't want to have to vote on it. You're in a certain district. You're trying to you may have certain progressive things you want to accomplish, and, you know, better to have somebody there who's going to be right on most things. And if you think you have to do this to stay, I maybe can live with that. But when you sponsor it, you know, then it's not something you're trying to avoid. It's not something you wish hadn't landed in front of you.
You're leaning
You
into
went
it.
out of your way to sponsor the damn thing. I mean, it's really hard for that apology to work with me. Let's say that.
Right. I mean, because this is, you very rarely get constituents who are mad at you for voting for something but not sponsoring it. When you sponsor something, it's because you want to advertise you sponsored it. You want to be branded that way. Yeah, it's really problematic, and I mean, there's a couple of things that I think are problematic about it from my perspective. I mean, first off, there's no doubt, right, that Sanders did not know this when he endorsed it. Certainly, Daily Kos didn't.
No, Daily Kos didn't. I don't think anybody did.
And
I mean, I shouldn't say that. I think most of the major organizations and political figures who
Planned
endorsed
Parenthood gave
it.
him 100% rating in 2015.
Yeah.
And
clearly he had a perfect record then.
Which shows, I think, the flaws maybe in that rating system.
I think in a lot of groups, there's a lot of flaws like that. Yeah.
And
go ahead. Sorry.
And Tom Perez has come out and said, like, you know, well, this is a 50-state strategy, and you're going to have to do this in some places. But you know, I think it's very hard to imagine Tom Perez saying that if he like co-sponsored, I don't know, the mortgage fraud initiative program, which allowed for mortgage fraud, or if it was like, you know, we're going to.
But what if he was perfect on everything, but he was a global warming denier? Would Bernie? I'm not attacking Bernie because let's start with Bernie. Would Tom Perez? Would, I don't know, Pelosi's out there for him? Would Nancy Pelosi? Would any of these people do it then? I mean, these are real questions we have to grapple with, because if you're thinking that women having control of their bodies and therefore having economic equality, because the two are completely linked, if you think that is a less important issue than some of these other issues, I think that's pretty problematic.
Yeah,
frankly.
you
So
have to
we better come
right.
to a conclusion that we're willing to make exceptions, no matter what the issue is. That anybody can be bad on an issue or two, and if they're better overall, we'll go for them. Or we better not. But it better not just be that, abortion rights isn't that important. We'll tell that to all sorts of women who accidentally get pregnant, and then our men disappear, and all sorts of things happen, and their lives are just destroyed because of it economically, as well as personally and psychologically, and any other way that you could be destroyed when the state gets to tell you what the hell you can and can't do with your body.
And let's keep in mind here, okay, and now granted, the guy is running for mayor. There's nothing he can do as mayor that would impact this issue. But he's not running for mayor because this is how he wants to head into retirement, right? I mean, theoretically, this guy could very well end up being a congressman. He could end up being a senator. No,
this is important.
And
Sam, I mean, look, yeah, go ahead.
And so you're enhancing this guy's career for a guy who is, and he's not disavowing this stuff either, right? He's just saying, I would never do it as mayor. Well, yeah, that's because you can't. He's not saying like, I made a mistake. I don't believe that anymore. And that's, I think, even puts it into a different circumstance. I mean, so you're enhancing somebody's career that's going forward. And I think the problem here is, there's a certain amount of incompetence that's involved in this. And I'm not quite sure who is responsible for this incompetence. Like, I think there are people in Bernie Sanders' office who should be be a little bit more diligent with this stuff. If you're going to go out and Sanders is going to endorse somebody in a race, you should be looking at this stuff and making sure, there should be a checklist. Is he okay on these, XYZ things? And certainly, look, this should be the primary job of, maybe not the primary job, but this is like catching and fielding and hitting for the DNC. I mean, this is one of the problems with Tom Perez, I think, is that this is a guy who does not have experience in running for elections, and so maybe is not fully conscious of the various different, I don't know, things that could go wrong in this scenario.
Well, he certainly needs to get somebody right there as a deputy of sorts who does know what they're doing with this, or needs to pull it together, because it's a problem, a major problem. I mean, you end up looking incompetent too, and you don't want that, right? I mean, look, anybody can make a mistake here and there.
Right.
That's all this is. But if this starts becoming a pattern, which it could, that's a real problem.
Now, the flip side of this, I got to say, is, I like the fact that you got Tom Perez and Bernie Sanders going through the South and making, a very aggressive argument that Democrats need to embrace labor again, because that is obviously hugely important. But this, and then I should say the other funny thing about this, maybe funny is not the right word, but we also have this sort of explosion of the Bernie versus Hillary thing again, which I think, to a large extent is a function of new data coming out on the election of Donald Trump. And then this book that, and I have to say, one of the best takes I haven't read the book. I've just seen some extended excerpts. But one of the best takes that I've seen was Matt Taibbi's, where he's like, this is less about Clinton and more about an ossified Democratic, I don't know if I would call them. Yes.
Hey, look, I can say this
political
as somebody
class.
who does some considerable political consulting still. And, I run into it all the time. So I feel comfortable saying it. It's not to say I've worked, there's some great people and I've worked with some great people, but there are some folks who are part of the sort of, they're in that stream where they're going to get a certain number of clients handed to them by committees and, all those kind of things. And sometimes it seems to be the bigger motivation is to lose by doing something the way it's been traditionally done and therefore expected of you, than to win by like stepping outside of the box. And that sucks. You know what I mean? I mean, I think it leads people to be obviously less creative as they sort of just try to protect what they have. And again, I'm not saying that that's everybody, but there certainly are some of them involved, and some of those folks were involved in the election.
It's interesting. I mean, I wonder if it's, I wonder how much this differs from the Republicans, and if it's a function of the different revenue sources that are on the right as opposed to on the left, right? I mean, because theoretically, out of Bernie's campaign, we're going to see different things taking place and different people getting resources coming out of things like Our Revolution and whatnot, and Bernie Sanders maintaining his email list for the time being, right? Because that's a funding source that is different than the more corporate-oriented part of the party. And it seems to me that what we've seen on the Republican side is a lot more electoral creativity, or at least diligence, because maybe there's funding that comes from different places and you've got to prove yourself.
Oh, I think it's true. Yeah, I mean, we certainly don't like where some of the funding is coming from, and some of their creativity means being creatively racist,
right?
And creatively xenophobic.
Terrible.
But
Operation
but
Crosscheck. The
Mercers are a great example. The Koch brothers are a great example. I mean, there are two enormous sources of money that don't bow to the RNC and don't, frankly, give a crap what the RNC says. Often they're in direct opposition to them.
Right.
So for the consultants who want to still make a living on the right, you can do that there. But on the left, there just isn't anything like that. It's very hard for you to find a group. I mean, there's some good ones that get involved in these things, but something like Cap Action maybe or whatever, but they don't get involved nearly on the level financially. There's very few people that can get involved there. So often, if you want this to be your sole living working on these races, then you have to often bow to kind of the conventional wisdom coming from the numerous lettered organizations, and that leads inevitably to a lack of innovation, to an ossification of what people, of behavior and keeping old ways of going, and that's not good.
It sounds like actually on the Clinton campaign that efficiency was they were really adamant about not overspending in some way, which was weird because they outraised Donald Trump significantly, and they spent a lot of money in areas that were, they got an extra 3 million votes. They won 3 million votes nationally, and it's not like California votes are, should be weighted any less, but the fact is that they are weighted less because of our electoral system. And
right.
Outside of California, they lost by 1 million or so votes. These are the rules of the game. We can say that they're bad or not. I happen to think that the Electoral College is a crap show, and we should get rid of it. But
I think that's a generous term for it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not like this came out of nowhere.
Right.
There was real problems with that campaign, and it's going to be interesting
to
see.
I mean, the big problem is, and I've always said this is kind of like the example I use is from a Giants Super Bowl back in, 90 against the Bills. Do you remember when Norwood missed that kick?
No.
You're a football fan, aren't you? The Giants won a Super Bowl. The Buffalo Bills would have won if the kicker was first game. I can't remember.
Oh, yes, I do remember that. Yes, okay.
Right? So it's like a 41-yard, something he should have made.
Right.
He misses it, and everybody on the Giants is a genius because he missed it, which had nothing to do with any of them. But suddenly they made all the right moves, and the Bills made all the wrong moves. So my point there being that it's a completely random event, one random event at the end of a game. And often that's the way political analysis is it's just if you were the winner, you did everything right.
Right.
If you're the loser, you did everything wrong.
Right.
You can look at Hillary's campaign and have some nuance and say there are some things they did very well. I think they helped move some states that have been moving slowly towards us in a better direction. Arizona, they only lost by 3 points. Georgia by 5. But they ignored some key industrial states. They had a lack of an overall compelling message. There are a lot of things that, and obviously they had everything from the Russians against them to Comey's ridiculous announcement, which clearly, from every poll we've seen, hurt them to a point where it might have actually, the Comey announcement might have cost them the election. But that doesn't mean, even if you can say that you can't still look within and pick good and bad things. I mean, most things that Donald Trump did were terrible, but he happened to be going against somebody that wasn't, didn't run a great campaign. He picked a smart message because he's very smart in terms of knowing how to get to the base anger and fear of people. So he combined xenophobia and a fake opposition to trade and things that Democrats should have been better on, and won lots of upper Midwest votes that were sitting there that Democrats could have won. So, I mean, but any analysis that's not multi-tiered and doesn't sort of look for nuance is a bullshit analysis anyhow.
And we
right?
should.
Hillary's campaign had lots of problems. It should have been better. It still could have lost or won even if it was better.
Yes. But we should say there's two different things going on here, right? One is that they from an execution standpoint, right? They messed up some things very seriously. But then the other question is, so that's just an execution, and that really is like, sort of a complaint that can be shared by people who don't particularly align themselves or feel terribly attached to the Democratic Party, and people who do, right? I mean, that is like a classic, Marcus Malitz's complaint. Like, we have a consultant class that is really bad at winning elections, and he is a true blue Democrat, right? I mean, he is very strongly partisan. But you could also make this argument if you're at the Jacobin, and you say like the Democratic, Then there's the other question.
And I think people in between and all over.
Right,
I mean, I'm more towards Marcos than I am towards the Jacobin, but I would make that argument also.
Right. But then there's the other argument, which is like, hey, look, the fact that Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin and Ohio are moving away from the Democratic Party, Iowa. The fact
Minnesota,
that they're moving away
Maine.
and moving in at a rate that I think is obviously faster than people anticipated, suggests that maybe there's also an ideological problem, and that one is, both these sort of arguments get conflated, it seems to me, at times. And then
I think even within that, Sam, is if you're going to do these things right, nuance is so important. And I think you look within those states and you say, there are some of those states that still have bigger urban centers that have certain things going on that are very supportive of, that lead people to be very supportive of progressives, great education centers and other things. A place like Pennsylvania that I think easily can be brought back because I think there's enough white working class voters that are still winnable. And then there's some other places, I don't want to condemn any one of them, so I won't mention any of them, but where it may be very difficult because you're just at a place where you don't have enough to make up for, because there is a certain number of working class white voters, particularly men, particularly rural, particularly older, who have been radicalized by talk radio and Fox News and other things. In the same way you get members of Hamas radicalized. I'm sorry for making that comparison, but I'm going to. And they just, they think that all liberals are evil and Hillary's a witch and, all sorts of things that you can't bring them back from. So it's a nuance within that. There are people you can win back, and there's some you're never going to reach. And, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, a bunch of them can clearly be brought back, or you can gain some back and even win bigger than you did in Minnesota and Maine. I think Ohio is tougher not to crack, but potentially winnable. But there may be one or two states along the lines here, like some of the border states particularly, that have just moved further and further away. And you hear us talking about them sometimes, like we might win one of them or one of these. And you're just, a place like Missouri may simply just be gone at this point. I mean, in national elections, I'm not saying in state-wide ones. I don't know.
Well, all right. Well,
see Iowa too, for that matter.
And I think we'll get a better notion of this going forward, obviously. But let's.
Sure, we need more evidence. We need more elections. We
got just 4 or 5 minutes here. What is going on with Jason Chaffetz?
I think I think he's going to end up being, I don't know, I'm not guessing he's going to be indicted. I have no idea, but I think there's going to be a scandal that's going to come out on him. And the reason I'm saying that is because, not because he said he was going to resign. When he first announced he was going to resign, I figured he sees the writing on the wall too. Utah was never big Trump territory. Even when Trump eventually won there, they won by a smaller margin than they normally would. Polling in Utah shows Evan McMullen beating Orrin Hatch in a primary right now. That seat's coming up in 18. So there's a lot of unrest in Utah too. And he's built a very negative image for himself among everyone but the most partisan voters by how he's behaved. So I was just of the belief that why he's had these easy re-elections, he might have to fight now for re-election, and why bother doing that? You can leave, take a bunch of years until things change. Maybe he's younger, come back and try to run for governor or something else. But the whole resigning immediately thing, I got to say, changed my opinion on that. I just wonder what he knows that we don't know. You know, what's floating around. You just saw the recent stuff come out that's looking towards implicating Devin Nunes and how he's behaved. You know, Jason Chaffetz was in a similar position to Nunes in terms of running a particular committee where he may have found certain things out. I don't know. I mean, maybe obstructed justice. Again, I'm completely speculating here. Or maybe it's something we completely don't know about. There are rumors flying out.
Let me read a couple of quotes.
I have no proof of that.
Let me read a couple of quotes from this Politico piece, because this is what really made me, really got my head spun around. So this is how the piece starts off. Chaffetz, who shocked the political establishment when he announced his retirement earlier this week, said that he's already started looking for post-congressional employment and hopes to serve on boards of directors and link up with a television network. And so you see, this is the quote from him. I started poking around to see what I might be worth and what sort of possibilities are there, he said in a phone interview. And I got a series of, let us know when you're serious. Well, now I can say, can you tell I'm serious? I'll take a little time to sort it out. I'll be thrilled to have a television relationship, but there are another number of things I'd like to do. Like, man, this does not sound like a guy who's going to run for governor. I mean, they've gotten some web domains apparently because he doesn't want squatters, but are you really putting yourself on record by saying, like, I wanted to see how much I could sell for?
I know. How much could I sell out for?
Yeah,
again, that does make you think there's something on him that he's not running for office again.
And then, now, with that said, asked if he was resigning because of a yet-to-be-revealed scandal, Chaffetz said, absolutely, positively not. Not in any way, shape, or form. I've been given more enemas by more people over the last 8 years than you could possibly imagine. Now, for me...
I enjoyed that comment, too.
For me, that sounds like, hey, if somebody has a record of that, that could be scandalous, depending on who you're letting give you the enema. But he says, from the Secret Service to the Democratic Party, I am who I am.
I mean, who was it?
I am if I am. If they had something really scandalous, it would have come out a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
That's also a weird phrase. Like, I have been caught... Michael wants to add he's too old for Hastert. But so
that's a good point.
So I don't know. Maybe we should do a pool. There's always like the nanny situation, maybe, or maybe.
Right. Well, there were rumors. There's rumors of a long-standing affair, and just to be clear, let me say I have absolutely no proof. I don't know anything. There are a number of people who are people that know things sometimes were saying this, but again, that doesn't, people who I trust who are actual reporters and whatever, but that doesn't mean it's true. Even if they're hearing it, they have no proof.
Who resigns over an affair in Congress? I mean, I feel like we would lose half of...
I have to believe it's worse, that he could be pulled into some sort of an obstruction of justice type situation. And I have to believe that in his mind, his best value actually is to get out now and get a contract before that happens. Because otherwise, there's just no need to rush. But, you want to get that Fox News contract, your own talk radio show on some stupid network, radio station, Christian radio or some crap.
Right.
And get a book deal or whatever else you can get before the indictment comes down.
I mean, you try and get a job at Fox, and then the play is you wait for the indictment to come down. In the meantime, what you do is you serially sexually harass people, and you make $25 million.
Right. The beauty of
Bingo,
that
bammo, bimbo.
They pay you $25 million to leave.
Yeah, exactly.
I've had people my whole life asking me to leave places, and no one's ever paid me $25 million to do it.
I know. I'm talking to my attorneys right now, and I'm going to be sexually harassing everyone in this office and see how much money I get out of it.
If I come on and I just get really, really offensive every week on the Majority Report, would you guys pay me? I'll give you a discount. Will you pay me like just $15 million to leave?
Well, I'll check what we have. We'll see how we did on the swag that we were thinking about selling.
If Sam
the swag's bringing in
tried to sexually harass someone, he would be so embarrassed within the first 20 to 30 seconds, maybe less, that he would. It's so sad. You couldn't do it.
What?
He wouldn't be able to.
Let's not test this proposition.
You should
That's
see
okay.
you should see what I did to Matt while you weren't here. It gets really nasty.
It's disgusting.
I mean, it will.
It's really okay. I think we don't need to. The joke worked.
You should see what happens to Matt at the commissary. That's all.
Oh my God.
Why do you think Binder left? And who else in the past? Dorsey and whatever? I mean, there's reasons here.
Right. It's true. It's true.
I have heard some things from Dorsey.
Tattered.
Although I really thought it was pretty funny that Kelly said right away, like, is laughing at you and saying you actually could not sexually harass somebody.
I feel like. I mean,
it looks like Sam Seder is such a cuck that he cannot even do a successful sexual harassment course.
I have seen you extremely wasted. And no,
Sam comes into work coked out of his mind, and he still treats us relatively respectfully.
No,
he just starts sniffing like big piles of white powder, and then like,
oh God,
has to put him down on the floor
Sam, even in his worst temper tantrums, is like, I hope that did not come across as in any way sexual to anyone in the office. I apologize. All right, I'm going to go put some water on my face and get out of the room for a minute.
You were, I saw you extremely wasted one time. You swore
was during one of the conventions.
Yeah, you swore about politics. It wasn't even anything extreme. You just kind of like sat back, and then there was someone else.
Then I fell asleep.
Then no, there was someone else here who did fall asleep, and you were like chivalrous and just like you were like you were being nice, and then you called her an Uber. I mean.
Wow.
Yep. Well,
that's my guy, Sam.
There you go.
He's there to call you an Uber if you need him.
Well, I don't think it was an Uber. It was probably a Lyft
then you really, after that,
Juno.
should have seen
Matt and I don't get treated that way. We're the
Sam
ones who bear the scars.
All right. Well, with all that said, Cliff,
yeah, Sam, start doing cocaine. Bye, Cliff. Thank you.
Cliff, I've got to go. I've got to go purchase some street drugs. So,
okay.
That's how they say it.
All that swag money should really hook you up.
I'm going to be in Vegas next week, so maybe I'll be in touch. We'll see. Maybe we'll do something from there. We'll see what happens.
Let's make it happen, or if we can.
Okay,
that'll be good.
All right. In the meantime, thanks so much, Cliff. We'll see you next week.
My pleasure. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, folks. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, the great Andy Kindler will be joining us from. Now let's see. Where is he?
Austin.
He's in Austin, Texas, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with Andy Kindler. as an interstitial music on this program all the time. Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest was harder to reach than I've had for government officials. Apparently, there's extra security at the hotel he's staying at for him. But we just had to get one of the officials at the hotel to listen to this song, and they put us through.
With a Jew like Andy Kindler, you know you can't go wrong. His ancestors wrote the God Bless America song. A true Obama bot, and he believes Obama can never be wrong. Yeah, and Kindler.com. You made me laugh so hard, I had to write you your theme song. And Kindler.
I just had a vision of this program 15 years from now where all it is every day I just call you on the phone and play this theme song, and people are going like, who's Obama? What does that mean?
Well, you know what, though, Sam? Two things I want to say. First of all, you asked me, was I ready to go? And I said, yeah, you know I am. I've never been ready to go, so that was a lie. And then the second thing is I'm harder to reach than those golf clubs you put up in the attic of the buck-a-buck. That's all I got.
It's like
I gotta say,
now.
honestly, I mean, I don't know. Are you staying? What are you staying at? Some type of like secret facility? It took them like literally like 15 minutes to answer the phone, and then they were very suspicious of me, and they were like, I had a special code to get to you. Can we tell people that you're in Austin, Texas?
Yeah, now normally I do not like people coming to my shows and disturbing me because I like what I have I like what I have going on. Why did I have to whisper for that bit? Yes, I met Austin at the Moon Tower Festival, and this is one of the few times
the what
I've been
festival?
able to call you up. The Moon Tower Festival. This is one of the few times I've ever called you up with a current gig to plug. Eat your heart out, working comics.
This is huge. So what is the Moon Tower thing? Is this some type of...
It's Austin.
Yeah.
Which is a great city. Keep it weird, or something like that.
Yeah.
And every year they have a comedy festival. And also I want to let you know...
and is
Sam,
this
I'm on
festival
my
that you're
Andy-
at one to maybe to apply to the comedy festival, or...
Oh, for me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm applying. But I think I'm going to get in. I'm 16th on the list of Jews.
No, well, no, that's not bad.
I always get the last name Jews. But, Sam, I got to tell you, because I prepared this material, I'm on my anti-climactic tour. Anti-climactic tour. It's pretty good for about half the show.
Oh, okay.
And I liked it the most to the end on the anti-climactic tour. Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Let's get down to brass tacks, Andy. So when are your
What happened
shows?
to the rest of the crew? Where's the rest of the crew?
No, they're all here.
MFer, where's my iced tea?
No, hold on. We
I've missed you, Andy. I was thinking about that
I
just
miss you,
yesterday.
Kelly. I have to be. When am I going to be in studio? When are you guys going to fly me out, put me up in the Hotel Dixie,
Whenever
and
you
get me in?
in
studio.
You said you were gonna.
You
said
never
you're
give
gonna be
advance
here.
notice when you're in town.
He's always like, actually, it's funny you say that because I was in Brooklyn last week and I didn't say hi to any of you. But I have a new joke about being a Jewish comedian.
Well, it's not a new joke, but it's been repurposed.
Yeah. I have a re-engineered joke about being a nebbish.
No,
But
wait a
yes,
second. When was
I
the
was
last
in
time?
town
When was
and
the
I
last
didn't
time
say
you were
hi.
here? When was the last time you were here?
I was here. I haven't been there that much for legal reasons. I took a funny pill before the call. For legal reasons. No, I was there very recently ago.
Yeah.
I was there for. I did a benefit at Caroline's for autism, not for autism, to help autism.
Yes. The A-Man. So when will you be back?
Did you call me the A-Man?
Yeah, the A-Man.
Oh, are you winding me up?
I'm getting you
I
there.
have been worried all week long where will the D-man? Is he going to be going on Tucker?
You're the only person along with us that is really worried about the serious fallout of this, which is, I guess maybe I will finally move to Nebraska because there's nothing else for me to do.
But that's exactly where is an opportunity for a guy who stopped writing comedy 20 years ago and just hates?
It's sad.
It was the factor.
And
hello,
now,
Tucker Carlson. Here's my audition tape.
Here's the good news. Here's the good news. We do have a clip of the D-man on the serial harasser, sexual harasser's show. The very wealthy now serial harasser. He was wealthy before. Let's be honest. This is from an appearance on April 5th. And is that one? Oh no, this is from March 29th. We've got two of them then. Okay, this is from March 29th, Andy.
I love it.
This is Dennis Miller and Bill O'Reilly discussing how to identify a snowflake. Here it is.
Thanks, Ken Willis and Bill O'Reilly in the Miller Time segment tonight. A quiz. Are you a snowflake? As you may know, my new book, Old School Life in the Sane Lane, deals with that question. So we asked Dennis Miller from his perch in Santa Barbara. Come up with a few queries of his own on the topic. So Miller, lay question number one on us.
By the way, Billy, when you worked at Carvel, Cookie Puss still had his baby teeth, all right?
Pause it, face it.
What the hell does that mean?
Basically, let's explain this to people who are under the age of 65.
90. Tom Carvel on the East Coast, in Queens, by the way, had an ice cream shop.
Right, Cookie Puss. There was an ad that Carvel would have, and it was Cookie Puss was one of the ice cream things, and I think that ad probably has not run in at least 25 years, and so even then it was probably it's a 25-year-old joke. Maybe people thought it was
Hillary Clinton campaigning is like going to Carvel on your way to seeing Mean Streets in 1979. The young people don't get it. Oh.
Here's one of the things I just noticed too, that we should tell folks. You can't see this, Andy, but Dennis Miller is actually reading from a cue card. You can see that he's looking off to camera left. See that? Like he's looking off to camera left because he has to have this material written down.
Is he in his home? He's in his home too, right?
I don't.
It's not like from a special studio. It's an ISDN line.
You know what? It's very possible he is at his home because you can see the TV line just in the corner there. All it takes is a big TV, and I imagine they would set him up for that. Why would they have him go to a studio? You can get an LTN in there for, I don't know, probably 15, 20 grand. And
this becomes relevant later.
Oh, it does.
I would love to see. I would love to see his right-wing children come running in.
All right, so here we have.
Hey, Dad, cereal.
So, Cookie Puss, you Here we go.
All right.
There's a long back.
Number one, the first question I would ask a kid who wanted a job is I'd say, what are you, crazy or stupid wanting to work for a living with all the freebies out there? First thing I'd ask. Number two.
Hold on. Wait a second. Stop.
Wait a second.
Pause it for
Go ahead.
Pause it for 1 second. Okay, there we go. So his question was, what? Wait, this is. Oh, are you a snowflake? Why don't you get free things? Okay, so
freebies. Another expression from the 30s.
Yeah, here we go.
Number two. This is how I'd reveal a snowflake. Does it upset you that Roy Rogers named his horse Trigger? Trigger.
Roy Rogers.
He had to go 100 years back for a trigger joke.
That is unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
At this point, is this an Andy Kaufman thing? I'm almost like, is he actually being like, this is what I would be like if I was a relentlessly
We should actually age
unfunny.
these references and see how many years they add up to.
Well, I will tell you something. Yeah, now, to be fair, Roy Rogers died relatively recently, only 19 years ago. Now, at the time, Roy Rogers, when he passed away, let's see.
His horse.
He was age 86. So he was still, spry. And let's see, when was Trigger on the last time that people saw?
Well, I was on Ed Sullivan. I did a joke about stuffing Trigger on Ed Sullivan in 1962. Stuffing what? Is Trigger stuffed? People loved it.
These things are like this test would just genuinely baffle. Like what free stuff am I missing? And who the hell is Roy Rogers?
And I don't get it. He named a horse Trigger, so why would I have a problem with that? Because I'm triggered?
What?
Well, you know what's amazing? I mentioned that Trigger got stuffed. I don't think anybody in your studio know the Trigger did get stuffed. That's how old that reference is.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
All right, let's go.
He was stuffed. They stuffed his horse after he died. I think his horse got stuffed.
Oh, is that right?
You go in the living room, and here's Trigger stuffed.
Now, there's a freebie.
All right.
Three.
Number 3. Hold on, pause
morning.
it. Look at how, just horrifically he's reading, and it's not just...
He's going Bachman on it.
They couldn't... Total Bachman. Total Bachman. He's looking literally like a foot off to the right.
Who's Bachman? Who's Bachman? I don't know
Michelle Bachman, when she gave her famous...
I thought Bachman Turner Overdrive.
Right, well, of course.
Turner Overdrive.
I think we're talking about... All right, good.
Number 3 is good morning, a microaggression against people who like to sleep in. Number 4, if you deem someone to not be as loving as you, do you then hate them? Number 5, boxers or brief attention span. Number 6, how much are you going to sue me for making you take this quiz? Number 7, are you too lazy to get restless leg syndrome? Number 8, would you take a summer job as a safe space lifeguard? Number 9, is disagreement with you immoral? And number 10, be you old school or a snowflake, Pelosi's a moron, right?
That's a trigger. You just triggered the snowflake. You can't say moron. You can't make a judgment, Miller. In the snowflake.
Oh, my God. Hold on. We'll pause it for 1 second. He just raced through that list because I think he realized oh, God, I'm at 4 or 5 and I'm already realizing
this is really bad material. So what I'm going to try to do is actually pretend to be indignant and then I'm actually making a point here.
You know what's amazing? I've noticed a trend. Bill Maher, he couldn't do a desk piece if you operated his hands remotely. These guys, all these right-wing guys, are so stuffed with hate, they can't even see out of their eyes. They can't even execute a simple, hilarious comedy bit like that list could have been if it was delivered correctly.
He really didn't do it justice. I'm sure there's some guy sitting somewhere, probably in Pittsburgh, who's doing open mics, writing this material for him, who's really bummed.
I love that it's Pittsburgh.
Well, isn't that where he's from originally?
I know.
Miller?
I love that's where he would end up, is having local writers.
Went back home to have some fresh talent for some non sequitur comparisons.
Pittsburgh is really an up-and-coming city.
I love Pittsburgh.
I
have relatives. I have relatives from Pittsburgh. I love it.
And you
Let's not make
all
this about
go to
Pittsburgh.
heck for saying otherwise.
I am getting to a point where Hillary Clinton is Karen's mom in Goodfellas. To me, is that was good material,
right?
Like what is happening here?
That was his peak.
Yeah.
All right, so let's.
Wait, he said that?
Oh.
Yeah, it's that was the thing. Oh, you weren't on with us, Andy, but that was
No, I didn't hear that one.
Here's a fresh reference that your average 20-year-old will get. It's like an old Scorsese movie for a minor supporting character's mom who was a bitch, right? That's Hillary Clinton. Sure, you'll swing over and get off of your parents' health care plan for that. Bada bing, bada boom.
Why is this guy so miserable? This guy is richer than bring up something that would be a metaphor. But this guy is just miserable.
Richer than Lando Calrissian on the holodeck. After he made a deal with Darth Vader, it didn't turn out so well. Read Aesop's Fables.
Richer than Judith Anderson in that production of Laura back in 1942. Am I right?
He doesn't even sound like him. Doesn't he sound like he's doing an impression?
Yes, he does. He sounds like he just can barely get the.
I thought this was a good move during the Bush administration, and now look where I am now. Billy's about to lose his job for sexual harassment, and I'm going to be doing yucks again in Pittsburgh.
Wait a second. Where the heck
life.
is my payout? I was the one supporting this guy.
I was the one who wrote him lines for his sexually harassing text messages.
I would love to see him just go off the charts and go, I guess the no spin zone means don't move.
I was his Jane Greer to Robert Mitchum and Out of the Past. Where's my payout? All right, wait a second. So wait, he's still got these, but now listen, the set piece is done. He's still got some points to make here.
Billy.
Oh, okay. Is he on a couch?
The unifying
on
point. We can
hold
all
on,
come
wait a
together
second.
in this
Go back.
culture
This
over one.
is we're going to talk about Nancy Pelosi, who's way in the news in March.
Moron, right?
That's a trigger. You just triggered the snowflake. You can't say moron. You can't make a judgment, Miller, in the snowflake
That's what I'm
culture.
saying, Billy. Pelosi is the unifying point. We can all come together in this culture over one thing. It's the only thing we still agree on. She's a moron.
All right, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I know you wouldn't, but I would say it twice for me and you.
Now you live in a very affluent part of Southern California, which there is snowflakes all over the place, and I know your philosophy is to basically ignore them. You don't confront them, correct?
Billy, I go out the door, I start counting the seconds till I get back inside the gate. It's crazy.
I believe that.
All right? There are shut-ins that get out more than me. So I go out,
Well, pause it. Wait a second.
Mission.
There are shut-ins that go out more than me? Well, this guy's quite a wordsmith here. There are people, Billy, who don't go out, who go out more than me.
You see how
There's
that
a guy
joke
with
went?
a storm drain door. The guys with storm doors who are they're nailed in for the winter. They go out even more ventured than me.
I start counting the seconds till I get back inside the gate. It's crazy. All right? There are shut-ins that get out more than me. So I go out. It's like a covert mission. I go out. I get some mint Milanos. I get some milk. I sneak back into the compound, and I shut the gate behind me.
Can you tell
I kind of
on
believe
the
that.
streets of Santa Barbara, nice little town, can you tell if there are snowflakes approaching? Can you just tell by the appearance?
Well, there's a lot of guys on Lower State Street who urinate on themselves, so I can point out the yellow snowflakes. Hey, listen, by the way, Carl Rove.
Let me take a gratuitous shot at some homeless people.
Can you believe it? That's where his mind goes. He literally hates homeless people. He hates them. I was on Lower State Street. There's a guy got no home peeing on himself.
Guy got no home. He would actually be more funny if he started talking like that. But O'Reilly's like trying to cue him up for like a latte whisk-bag reference. And he's just like, well, there are homeless people, and I wish I could run them over in my car.
And I don't leave my house. I wonder how his mental state is lately.
I basically stay at home all day and have weird, violent fantasies about homeless people and watch my already limited comic talent depreciate.
But, Bill, let me just pivot from the talk about my compound to people who don't even have a home. Huh? Let's talk about how rich I am and quickly juxtapose that to people who don't have anything and let me crap all over them on TV.
So I said to the guy, why are you pissing on the street? Why? You don't have a home because you're poverty-stricken, cha-cha? Poverty-stricken, choo-choo?
Hey, when was the last time you ate?
Oh, you look hungry. How can you piss? How can you piss if you're starving? I don't even know what voice. I'm not even doing a Dennis Miller voice.
All right, well, now, this is, I'm going to get a little bit choked up here. Because this is it.
Can't we just work through the archive?
I suppose we could do that. But this is the last, freshest, stale appearance by Dennis Miller on the O'Reilly Factor. I just...
Hashtag bring Dennis. Come on, not if we don't do a hashtag. Don't let Dennis go.
That's right.
They should do a movie, Dennis
The
and Bill
D-Man.
should get together for a Netflix movie.
Though or maybe they'll end up on World Net Daily together. I don't know.
Hey, D-Man, I'm talking to this broad that works for me. She's in a shower. What should I say? Oh, you say you want to rub her with a loofah, except you call it a falafel.
Hey.
That way you make her laugh and turned on. But you got to keep it classy and tell her she has amazing boobs at the end. Just so she knows that you're serious and a respectful guy.
I can't even believe it. But I think Tucker would feel threatened by this.
All right, here it is, folks. It is the most freshest, last stale appearance by Dennis Miller on Miller Time on the O'Reilly Factor.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly. In the Miller Time segment tonight, here's something very few people know. In China, the Coca-Cola Company is launching its Cherry Coke bottle, featuring the likeness of Warren Buffett, the American capitalist, a communist country. Only one person on earth can figure that out, and he joins us now from Santa Barbara.
Can we pause for 1 second?
What?
First
Someone
off,
explain it. Run that down.
Okay.
What happened?
First off, we're gonna start with that is the most lackluster I have ever seen Bill O'Reilly. It looks.
He
like
knew he was going to get out. He was on. He must have known he was on his way out.
He was getting ready for vacation, or his glucose was low, or something.
I'm going to meet the Pope.
And then Dennis Miller comes on, and he looks like he just got out of bed.
He looks extremely disheveled.
He looks angry.
And confused or something.
Here's the big story, is that Coca-Cola, which is obviously or Cherry Coke, but Coca-Cola is a corporation that is a capitalist corporation, has put Warren Buffett on the label. I don't know why they did that in China, but maybe because it is a sign of capitalist money success, and there's some interest in.
He's part owner. He's a part owner.
They also
right?
they're like investors. There.
Warren Buffett's part owner of Coca-Cola.
All right, and so here is the only man in the world who can figure it out. It's Dennis Miller. Here we go.
He joins us now from Santa Barbara, California. Miller, what's going on with the Cherry Coke Buffett thing?
Well, that's a recent thing, Billy. I know for many years the face on Cherry Coke was Bill Clinton, but they went over to Buffett not long ago, sort of a Colonel Sanders type thing. I think they wanted Jimmy Buffett. He didn't want to play, so they went to Warren.
Okay.
Oh, my God. Jimmy Buffett.
Well, they both have the name Buffett.
O'Reilly is definitely not the only one who's drinking.
But what does that mean? It's a sort of a Colonel Sanders thing.
I think he's literally saying
because it's a Colonel Sanders thing where they changed the characters on Colonel Sanders because Dennis Miller took a break from hating to notice that they were doing a new Colonel Sanders campaign.
What about the Bill Clinton thing? Is that just like it was just?
What does that mean?
That might have just been true.
Is that just back to the 90s?
No, I think it was a sexual thing. The face of Cherry Coke. Get it? He slept with people.
Yeah, because he's Bill Clinton and he likes the girls, so Cherry Coke. Even when I'm completely disheveled and exhausted, I'm killing it.
Anything can be a euphemism if you try hard enough.
I thought Bill Clinton, Cherry Coke was one of his sexual positions.
Yeah, talk about that, Cherry Coke.
Ironically, I actually could hear O'Reilly being like, and then I'm going to put the Cherry Coke on you.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Hey, you know how they say a virgin cherry? Something like that. Let's move it.
Pop open your Cherry Coke. Okay, there we go.
So they went to Warren Buffett. Chinese are an enigmatic people. Now, listen, there's a growing trend to lump together.
Pause it. The Chinese are enigmatic people. Like, just imagine, we don't know where the tribbles came from.
Billo, when you're going nowhere in a joke like this, here's what you do. A little old comedy secret. Oriental jokes. Chopsticks, ching chong ding dong, that sort of thing.
Bill, I will also say the Chinese are very suspicious and hard to understand people. But I'll also tell you, I saw a guy who peed himself who had no home. And I'm rich.
Chinese are an enigmatic people.
It gives a whole new meaning to the word inscrutable.
Right. Here we go. All right, back it up. Here we go.
Chinese are an enigmatic people. Now, listen, there's a growing trend to lump together American intellectual and fiscal luminaries with foodstuffs. I was over at Panda Express for lunch, and I had a picture of Jeff Bezos wrestling a dragon labeled Internet Tax on my takeout container for my Beijing beef bowl. I know the guy in front of me got the Karl Rove.
Pause it. Wait a second. He's reading this stuff off to the right, again, to the left of the camera, and he's like having to conduct himself with his hand as he reads it. I saw the Jeff Bezos bowl on the beef thing, and then I saw a guy next to me who had a container with a picture of another guy eating another Chinese dish.
But all that he cared about was, I know Beijing beef is a winner. How do I get to Beijing beef? That's all I need. What's the frame for my Beijing beef reference?
There we go. My takeout container for my Beijing beef bowl. I know the guy in front of me got the Karl Rove fuzzy-headed shrimp on a whiteboard. And then also, a special this week, they have the General Flynn's chicken. I found it a little slippery. And they're also running a special with a side of bought and paid for steaming Susan Rice. So there's a lot of intermingling between, political people and the Chinese food now.
Oh, maybe I can take the person who was just smeared. Who we smeared for 3 weeks.
Wait,
and throw her into the joke.
Now I have a theory about this ridiculous, stupid premise of a segment. Do you think Miller was like, look, Billy, I've got some dynamite Chinese takeout material. It ends with trashing Susan Rice. How can we get me there?
Susan Rice. Let's just reverse engineer it.
Let's start from the end and go back to the beginning. Okay, bada bing, the chinks are putting Buffett on Cherry Coke. That way we get to my new amazing Susan Rice material.
Now, I've been going back and forth because, of course, they have rice at Japanese restaurants.
I'm surprised because anti-Japanese jokes were much more prevalent in the 80s. So actually, Miller should be doing Japanese jokes.
I was playing around with the old Susan Rice. I call her Sushi Rice.
I was eating my kamikaze Kong Pao kamikaze World War II chicken.
I call her Sushi Rice because she's slippery in the middle.
Oh, my God. That actually would go right into that bit.
I know. I could write. That was embarrassing.
But wait a second. Maybe we could bring in marijuana legalization, and I could say, I see weed, and then Sushi Rice.
But then I know I'd have to work in a Denmark reference because I always work 20 years behind schedule.
Yeah, but you know what the problem is? This material you're writing sounds like it's coming from people who still have the will to live.
I wonder if they've talked over this vacation, Bill, if they have an actual, I don't know, because I feel
they have a text thread.
Do you think so? Do you think that they talk, or do you think that it's like they don't, the only time they ever address each other is on TV, and the whole Billy, Denny, D-Man thing is just to make O'Reilly seem hip? I mean,
they go on tour though. I think they're all like Bill O'Reilly's a horrible person. Dennis Miller's a horrible person. I'm sure they don't talk, but they go on those stupid tours. Dennis Miller
really?
has now been relegated to opening up.
Oh, God.
Exactly. They went on a tour together.
I bet
they go on tour periodically.
Do you think they're going to tour? Do you think he's going to? What do you think? What do you think Bill O'Reilly's going to do? And then we'll get to Dennis Miller.
Well, I should say one thing honestly. I always hated Bill O'Reilly. I was always so mad at the media because it was like there's a writer named Ken Tucker who used to write for Entertainment Weekly, and they were all big like, "Oh, it's such a great character, Bill O'Reilly," and I never for 1 second got it. So I do think it's over for him. I don't know. They all have all these different newspapers. He'll make money unless he gets jailed.
Right. And what about Dennis Miller?
Well, he will continue to be retired.
Oh my God!
It's over for. How horrible a person must he be? And who would want to see him? I think it's. I mean, behind the gates. Who's coming in? Oh, the gates are closed. I can't get into the Dennis Miller property.
We actually have some audio from Dennis Miller upon hearing about Bill O'Reilly, and this is apropos because it's actually from a movie that's over 30 years old.
I got nowhere else to go! I got nowhere else to go!
I found myself becoming the officer and a gentleman when Lou Gossett Jr. said, you're getting out of here.
Actually, that's the most direct, relevant analogy I've ever made. I don't feel good about it. Oh, my God. A guy just asked me for change. What's it all coming to?
And 10 years from now, he's going to come out with a music stand with a thesaurus on one side and various reference books. And that's all he's going to do.
Deconstructing Dennis. I'm going to show you my technique. Here we go. All right.
Here's a historical reference.
Let's see.
Here's an out-of-date movie.
I draw this line
and
over
then
this
you
line.
hate a woman who's a public figure. You're good.
Is Jimmy Buffett still alive?
Jimmy Buffett. I was surprised he didn't say the wind got buffeted. The wind was buffeted by the Chinese thing.
This guy's singing songs like Davy Jones.
It's like if Haley Mills was a more current name.
All right, now listen, Andy. I don't want to spend the whole time just talking about Dennis Miller and Jimmy Buffett and Bill O'Reilly because we got to deal with this whole Ricky Gervais thing.
I know.
What's going on, man? I mean, seriously.
Well, I know. I'm just so jealous because I'm so jealous of. The theory is I'm jealous because he's rich. That's the theory, and I want to be doing this terrible.
Now, let me ask you this: why are you so jealous of only that rich guy, as opposed to all the other rich guys out there? Why does it have to be? Is it because of the accent?
No. It's because of the. Have you ever read his Twitter thing? If you go to his Twitter thing right now, there will be 8. It's all self-promotion. He retweets other accounts who talk about how great he is. He has that like he's hilariously laughing all the time. Every photo is of him. He can't hold it in. That's his general life stance. And then there's atheism, and then he just talks about how rich he is all the time. And so that's it. Basically.
When did this start? When did your? People have talked about how he's insufferable for quite a while. I gotta say, I still think the British Office may be one of the best shows ever.
I agree. I even liked Extras.
I thought Extras was
was good.
okay. It was okay to watch.
Then my theory is he was always David Brent. So a lot of people think it's without Stephen Merchant's influence, this is the way he really is. The thing that bothers me is he's one of these guys who is not a stand-up comic, but he's done it 15 times, and he thinks he's the greatest stand-up comic in the world. So that's why he went on that HBO show with Louis C.K. and Jerry Seinfeld and Chris Rock to talk about stand-up comedy. And then he just on his Twitter account go, I'm doing my new comedy, new material night. Or he'll tweet, "Oh, I don't even know if I should do this one. It's so edgy."
Yeah. Now I see he did.
It's laughable to me. But he says he says to me, "I ignored this troll for 3 years because I had pity for him." Who ever used "I have pity" as a regular human being in a conversation?
Now I see he's retweeting you. Let's see. So you said at one point Hitler sold out shows too. He was very popular and more likable than Ricky Gervais. In other words, who cares? And then someone, Godwin called Mr. Kindler, mumbled something about copyright infringement, saying that you I think Godwin's law really has more to do with an argument, not just making an over-the-top joke that is supposed to be funny because it's Hitler you're comparing him to. And
not only that, Godwin has had to come out and kind of tell people stop it with the comparing everything to Godwin's law. It's not. First of all, it's not an actual law. I don't know if you're aware of that.
It's not. It's not an actual law.
No, it's not.
Not in this country.
No.
And so he retweeted that, and then it's weird. I don't think he gets your humor, Andy.
Oh no, I think he doesn't even know. He's so he's like Trump. He's a narcissist. He's self-absorbed.
So,
so I don't think he knows. I think he just thinks I don't know what he thinks. I don't think he thinks enough. He cares enough to think about what's going on with me.
Oh wait, now somebody's done a fake Andy Kindler account called Bitter Andy Kindler.
Yeah, I think I blocked that guy.
And they wrote, amazing show last night, got a standing ovation 5 minutes in and almost half sat down again and stayed for the rest. Take that, Ricky Gervais. And I saw that and I thought, that's the kind of joke actually that you would write just to seem like you're being funny. And he retweeted it because it is...
Tom Sharpling, the comedian Tom Sharpling.
Yes.
He wrote a fake one to Ricky. Oh, Ricky, you're the greatest. And no, first he goes, I haven't heard of you, Andy Kindler. Nobody knows who you are. and he faved that. He had no idea.
God, that's so funny.
And now I don't know if he faved Ricky's Tom's follow-up, which was like, hey, don't let the haters get to you. Is there going to be a third season of Derek?
Oh, there's Sharpling's tweet. That's awesome. Oh,
he
my
has
God.
no idea. If Hitler slammed me, Gervais would retweet it.
That is so funny.
Andy Kindler's just a jealous Jew. Ricky Gervais has done the best sitcom in history and has so much money.
But let me ask you a question. If you're arguing that his whole argument is he doesn't care what other people think, he doesn't care that people hate his atheism, he doesn't care, then why has he tweeted 55 times about me?
Oh, my God. He's retweeting this Bitter Andy Kindler.
Me.
Bitter Andy Kindler has 60 followers, okay? And he's retweeting, and this is the tweet that he retweets from Bitter Andy Kindler, who, I mean, is it fair to say that Bitter Andy Kindler is probably Ricky Gervais?
Oh, I wouldn't say that, but I already am bitter. Where's the joke?
Well, that's the
bitter.
point. That's your whole character, is that you're bitter. I mean, you do your whole your shtick is that you do an industry thing and you attack people, and now they're doing that's why I thought it was actually you doing your own material, and then I had to look carefully, and so it is Bitter Andy Kindler, who I would say, I mean, honestly, I would say there's a 65% chance it's actually Ricky Gervais. And he's retweeted it, and it's, why aren't you talking about my show? Why do you always talk about your own? Hashtag
That's
ego.
his joke. That's his joke. That's his impression of what I would do, right?
Which I actually think would be a joke that you would make about yourself.
Yeah, like
to mock
making
him.
fun of myself.
Yes. Which is... and here he is.
So it's unbelievable because he retweets all these guys. Like, you don't know. I don't know if you're aware. There are these new atheists that I know you know them, but they're so awful and they're so mean. There's a guy named Godless Spell Checker, and these guys
guy
are
is
just
an asshole.
Ricky's taken a liking to these guys, so they're just sycophants. And he'll retweet or fave whatever they say. It's just unbelievable. It's
what
like
is also amazing
world.
is that out of the last 10 tweets that he has either tweeted or retweeted, 3 of them are the same picture of him in Iceland. Like, he may not know that people on Twitter can actually see his timeline.
I'm genuinely curious because I liked Extras. I think the British Office is amazing.
British Office is the best show. I think
I tried to watch his stand-up. I do think his stand-up's terrible, and I found him annoying in whatever interviews I've seen him in. But I guess how could somebody do something that's so socially perceptive, and then end up being such a so bizarre,
not self-aware. It's
so
like he's not
unself-aware.
self-aware
Yeah,
at all.
exactly,
Like,
exactly.
What comedian would brag about being rich? No comedian would. I mean, how does that even become? That's what David.
I mean,
Brent
besides
would do if
Richard
he got
Pryor,
rich.
nobody did that. You know.
And
What's that?
I said besides Richard Pryor, nobody bragged
Now-
about their money like that.
Who's this?
That was a joke.
The real Chris
know.
Beck.
Who?
Who's the real Chris Beck? He is some.
This is a guy who hates me because I blocked him. I'll tell you exactly what happened. A long time ago, I was making the argument that, yes, we can all agree it is that no one should ever be killed for their cartooning. But we could also say that doesn't necessarily mean that Charlie Hebdo cartoons are good or that people have to like them. Because every time I would say something like that, he would go, "Oh, are you saying they should be shot?" So he comes to me with that same thing. "Oh, are you saying they should be shot?" So I basically went back and forth with him and blocked him. I just was annoyed
This
by
is
it.
where-
He's
this is-
become obsessed.
But
This-
you are
Obsessed with
aware.
me.
I hope you're aware that he is a sushi aficionado. Try telling the truth. Is in his, and he is also like the number 2, besides the fake account that Gervais set up, is the number 2 most retweeted guy by Ricky Gervais. And apparently the real Chris Beck does not realize that his time setting shows him the local time, not the time in California. So he thinks that you're up at 3 a.m. Tweeting about Ricky Gervais when it's probably like 10 p.m.
Well, the other night, Ricky Gervais says, "Yeah." He goes, "I quite like having." This is Ricky Gervais. "I quite like having a troll who uses a real profile photo because then I can imagine him typing away in his room at 3 a.m." So I wrote back, "I'm married. I'm married, first of all, and I said, real comedians do type in their rooms at 3 a.m. Yeah, they're writing material as opposed to you."
Wow,
Thank
he
you.
really does just
Very
really-
angry. He got
So
to me.
but I still don't understand. Like, how can there be such an incredible disconnect? And also, all of those shows, Office and Extras, was all about delusions of grandeur and self-deception.
I know.
I mean, that's the whole meat of his comedy.
Whoa,
Well, how
Andy.
about magic? Happiness is was it love? What is this thing that on Derek? Love is magic, or
Did not see that.
Oh, that was
No, but
Derek.
it's like love-
I was out of the Gervais train by
but it
that
goes
time.
love is magic or something like that. That guy is the most hateful human being on the face of the earth.
It was
He's
kindness is
actually
magic.
arguing that he likes other people.
Wow, Andy Kindler reveals his
You heard
stunning,
me. You heard me. And I
stunning
will
ignorance,
take him on in a
arrogance.
comedy showdown.
His, Andy Kindler, right at home in the post-truth era. This is that Chris Beck guy again. He reveals stunning ignorance, arrogance, and incoherence in an interview with Josh Zepps. Now, why don't we get our interviews written up? Because I feel like you do that with us too.
Oh, I think you mean why don't? Oh, because it's not the right point of view for him. See, this guy Josh Zepps, who I've known for a while.
Yeah, we know
and I-
Josh.
We're
and I
friends.
go-
We're also friends of Josh. I've been on Josh's.
Yeah,
we've
and
been
I
on
know him,
Josh's
and I
show.
did not realize was just an unfortunate thing. I did not realize that he is on the Sam Harris side. I didn't know that. I just thought he was going to call me because I've been on the show a couple of times, and I thought he was kind of like neutral about it. But he's definitely on Sam Harris's side. So he calls me up to kind of have a conversation like, "What's the matter with me, Andy? You're going over the edge with these new atheists." So I was very upset about it. I mean, I just like I would never do an interview like where the guy's going to put me on the hot seat. But, so what? It happened. It's fine. I've had good interviews with him before, but it was like, people are just like online. They saw me get upset because I was upset about it, and so they think they've won somehow.
I love
Well,
Sam
have you-
Harris has responded, "Why is Andy Kindler attacking me? This takes a lot of energy."
Why? Wait, have you reconciled with Josh though?
Oh no, I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine. He got I think he got a little upset when I said on Twitter. I said, "Well, I would never have done the interview." Because I don't do interviews if I think that the point of view is going to be I have to debate. I don't want to debate people about
You're a
new atheists.
comedian.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I wouldn't have done the interview, but no, I'm fine with him. I was just surprised because I didn't know. Like at one point, I was trying to say like I can't take this anti-religion stuff, and my mother's a Quaker, and he kind of like saying like my mother's kind of like my mother's stupid for being a Quaker. I mean, I'm just so tired of I mean, not so much him. I'm just so tired of this anger based on nothing. Nobody knows. If you went to a Quaker meeting, you would not hate the Quakers or think they're stupid.
Oh my God, they are just the most offensive group
I think
of
that
people.
the problem Quakers have dangerous ideas.
Town hall, it's just unbelievable.
They have dangerous ideas.
Oh my God,
I'm attacking ideas, not people.
It really, Ricky. I've never. I don't follow Ricky Gervais, and I gotta say, it really is.
You won't even say his name right.
Is it not? Am I saying it incorrectly? I mean, I met him. He came in. We interviewed him
French.
once.
He's not French.
Gervais.
You pronounce the S.
Gervais.
Yeah.
It's Gervais.
I didn't know.
Well, actually, Andy, have you ever come across right now the dumbest guy and the biggest guru of the anti-Muslim, pseudo-intellectual atheist stuff is
Dave Rubin.
Yeah, there you go.
The other day, you had the greatest thing, Michael. The other day, Michael had the greatest thing where Dave Rubin thought there were Muslims contemporaneously with Jesus, right?
Yes,
that was
yes,
awesome.
he sure did. Yeah.
The Muslims probably turned him in.
He was like, he was saying Jesus was pretty liberal. He wouldn't object to Muslims or people with other belief systems. Or no, I don't even remember how he phrased it, but he phrased it clearly.
He said that there were other Muslims around.
Yes, there were other Muslims around who he wouldn't have had a problem with. You should find it. He did. Yes.
Oh my God! I went on his show. I used to go on his show. He turned into. Yeah, well, but he wasn't this way. Like 5 years ago, he was just doing talk shows.
There's gold in them there hills, Andy. I mean,
I'm going that way too.
You
I'm
should
going
go
right
that
wing too. I'm just going to do it better than these guys.
You're going to do it much better.
More comedy and a little bit lighter touch.
Oh, I cannot wait until there is a Pepe avatar on your Twitter handle.
Oh my God! Hey, you know what though? I'll tell you something. Election night, I will never forget the rest of my life spending election night with you guys, and being so sad. I'll never forget it. And I have to say, he's not doing a bad job. Am I right, folks? Not too bad. Who's with me on this? Nah, I gotta give it up to him.
You gotta, if you take a step back and you're not purposely biased, then you're in.
Not my cup of tea. Not our cup of tea. We admit that.
I found the Rubin clip, and it's 15 seconds, but we're gonna need. I guess. Oh, Matt's not here.
Matt has left the building. Matt has left the building.
Gotta wait to the last 13 seconds. Literally the last.
That doesn't happen on the Mark Levin show, where the guy who plays the clip leaves.
We got a guy has left the building.
Oh my God,
Producer.
Matt is crying. He's so upset about.
And the way they feel about.
Okay,
those
here
it is.
Okay.
This is beautiful. It's a thing of beauty.
Right. Gay people and Muslims, and the way they feel about those two groups, I still think is mostly Jesus' fault.
So that's Jesus right there. Even though Jesus probably would have been
loved
with
them
gay
both,
people
right?
and Muslims. And
well, that's
he
the
was
thing.
around a lot of Muslims. It was the Middle East, and
Oh my holy crap!
I told you.
What? That's not.
Play that again.
That is not like.
It's not edited.
No, you know what's amazing about that is that when you first said that, I thought like, oh, he's being almost like metaphorical.
No, I
in a
saw
way.
you were that he was going to be like Jesus would have been tolerant towards Muslims.
Yes, yes.
Nope.
No. He was
He literally was tolerant towards them
because he was in the Middle East.
Dude,
he
was in Palestine. Of course he knew Muslim.
Let's play it.
Gay people
You know
and
that
Muslims,
he thinks.
and the way they feel about those two.
Hold on. Here it is. We
was
can
on
play that.
America's Got Messiahs.
We'll play the clip again. Here we go.
I'm sorry.
And the way they feel about those two groups, I still think is mostly Jesus' fault.
that's Jesus right there. Even though Jesus probably would have been
loved
with
them
gay
both,
people
right?
and Muslims. And
well, that's the
he was
thing.
around a lot of Muslims. It was the Middle East, and
Literally, did he say literally?
Oh God! Can we see how the guy reacts to him?
I don't have that.
That's the best part
You know what
of
I
the
love
whole
is I
thing.
love it. I mean, as I always say with Dave Rubin, there is no greater combination of genuine stupidity and immense cynicism. It's like incredible.
You know what I would like to see is someone analyze the bookshelf behind him. Because you know that is like, I'm going to plant everything here that is going to provide what I'm trying to project about myself. And it's, I don't know. It's interesting also the two different chairs. I don't know. There's a lot of thought that goes into a set like that I think is.
That was the great. I don't know how you found that one, Michael, but that is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Well, Andy,
I love you. Don't Moon Tower Festival. You guys didn't let me plug my current gig.
I was just going to say you're playing at the Mootown Festival.
No, Moon Tower.
Oh, but might you also be at the Moo Tower Festival?
Oh, I am at the Moon Tower. That's the
Moon
underground.
Tower.
That's like
no, he's
Slam
at the
Dance.
Moon Tower now, but it's possible he's going to play something called the Moo Tower later.
First, you said
Is this Abbott and
Mootown.
Costello?
It could also be the Mootown. Like, do you go to a place?
Moo
I could see
Tower.
that in like a Vermont, like where there's a lot of dairy farms or something.
We're very amusing. Very amusing.
All right, so wait, so where is the Moontown Festival? I mean,
Can
obviously,
you say it with more? Can you say it with more scorn?
dripping derision.
Derision. It's in Austin, Texas.
Well, no, that I
If
knew.
you go to moontower.org or my website. No, don't go to my website. It's closed. Go to my Twitter account, and I'll be here tonight and tomorrow.
All right.
I made myself sick by promoting.
Oh, you did such a great job. Andy Kindler, always a pleasure, buddy. We'll
I
talk
love
to you
you.
soon.
I love you guys.
We got to find
Bye,
out what's
Andy.
happening to the D-Man. I appreciate it.
I'll miss you.
I miss you too, Kelly. I'll see you guys in studio when you fly me in. That
All
sounds
right,
great.
beautiful. That's going to be great. Well, I guess we might as well do a Freebie Friday here, right?
Yeah, we don't have much time left.
We don't have much time left. Oh, folks, what? What, you don't want to?
You want to go another hour and a half?
Oh no,
Thanks. Yeah,
no.
go
I was
for
like,
it, Kelly.
I was wondering if we were up against something. If 2:30 today or something.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I don't have a.
I did not know that.
A babysitter.
Oh right, I see. Okay.
Um,
I don't have a babysitter either.
I have
But I don't
parental
have a kid.
functions. That was the other Sam impression. It was Conehead Sam and Saul Rosenberg Sam.
Okay. So, it is. Let me just say at this point, if you can become a member of the Majority Report, please do at jointhemajorityreport.com. Also, MR Spring 17. Get 30% off your Just Coffee at justcoffee.coop. Fair trade, coffee, tea, or chocolate. MR Spring 17. Only in April will you get 30% off and free shipping. Check it out now. And as always, if you buy your crap from Amazon, buy it through our Amazon link at majorityreportkickback.com. Click on the link, bookmark it, buy all your Amazon crap through there. Also, we also have a jet.com link. Try out Jet. That's cool.
Super.
Should we just, I don't know, let's just show these pictures. As you know, Donald Trump spent 4 hours yesterday in the White House working on this potential North Korean crisis. No, excuse me. I'm sorry. Working on trying to figure out how to make sure the government doesn't shut. No, that is not it. Oh, I know what it was. He was entertaining Kid Rock, Ted Nugent, and Sarah Palin in the Oval Office for 4 hours. Who else is in there?
I think it's the wives of Nugent and Kid Rock.
I see.
And Sarah
Okay.
Palin.
And there's a picture. I mean, this looks like, honestly, doesn't this look like Madame Trousseau's wax museum?
Or the end of the world.
It honestly looks like it's just been, it's
Yes,
like some.
it does. It looks like, wouldn't that be really disgusting and pathetic, embarrassing if that was the White House?
Like this looks like it's just a completely manufactured meme.
Imagine if you had like this game show sexual harasser president guy and he was visited by these disgusting pseudo rock stars. It's this woman who was an incompetent vice presidential candidate and a bigot.
Now, I want you to recall that we'll just take a look at that picture again. I don't care how people dress. I really don't.
Or what's in their hearts.
Yeah, I mean, and so it's a little bit informal, in the Oval Office. I don't really care. You'll recall, though, that the Republicans criticized Barack Obama for actually taking his jacket off in the Oval Office, where he works. Donald Trump, of course, his desk completely clear of anything. Not terribly surprising. But not only is this just sort of amazing that the president has 4 hours to entertain these deep thinkers in his office, but they let them basically run around, and this is their sort of classless. I'm not a, this is not about whether or not you're a Clinton fan, but to go up in there and mock the picture of her as first lady, just unbelievable.
It's very gracious.
It's teenage stuff.
That's what it is.
It's so emotionally stunted. Like it is honestly like what I would anticipate my 11-year-old daughter doing, maybe if she saw Donald Trump's thing. Although, and the thing is, I would say, Mila, don't do that. It's not appropriate.
Yeah, if kids were doing that, you'd wonder where their parents are.
Yeah. I would say, look, guys, that's not appropriate.
To be fair, I did take Bush's portrait down and put it up against my nuts, but no one took a photo. Allahu Akbar.
And, of course, apparently Sarah Palin, in defending Kid Rock, said that Kid Rock would give Donald Trump the middle-class perspective. And here, incidentally, is a picture of Kid Rock's childhood home in Macomb County, Michigan. And there's 3 or 4 structures. I think that's a swimming pool, but obviously most prominent is the tennis court that we can see. And that looks like, I don't know, 6, 7 bedroom home.
Oh my gosh, you can't tell.
I have no
It could
idea.
be far, far more.
This is
Kid Rock's single.
Right.
That the video is him singing this on top of trailer houses.
Oh, right.
He's really good. Yeah.
That's a nice tennis court.
I guess in fairness, in Michigan, that
Isn't
house
every
might-
tennis court that you have at your house a nice tennis court?
No, I've seen some fall into disrepair.
Yeah. All right.
I guess in fairness, in Michigan, that house might go for like $100,000.
That's a $1.3 million home.
Yeah,
$1.3 million.
Yeah, not in Macomb. Isn't that like where all of the executives live? Right.
All right.
Can I
Yes.
mention that I'm not a fan of any of these people at all?
What? All right.
But one
You want
time,
to put that out there?
but one time, my cousin's car broke down, and
All 3 of them showed up to fix it?
no, and Kid Rock's tour bus was sort of this situation where they were coming out of the stadium, and Kid Rock's tour bus was a ways back, and people were just beeping and stuff, and Kid Rock got out and helped him push it. Like other people weren't helping, but Kid Rock. I mean, also
I'm guessing, and
It's good
obviously,
PR.
It's and he's white.
there was no PR to be had in
Yes,
the middle of the.
everyone's seeing him do that. It's good word of mouth.
There were like, okay. Anyway, he also might have been on a lot of
He
drugs.
just wanted
Who
to help
knows?
his fellow white man.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, come on, stop trying to shoehorn positivity about these people. They're awful.
know. Why
They're
can't
disgusting. It doesn't matter. They're the worst. Life would be better if they didn't exist.
That very well might be true, but that doesn't mean that you can equate Ted Nugent with Kid Rock or Sarah.
Well,
Palin
actually,
or-
Ted Nugent actually did the Heimlich maneuver on my uncle in '85.
Ted Nugent is a horrible human being. I mean, the things that he
he's
said to bring him
really
into
awful.
Yeah.
He's incredibly awful.
Okay, if
Sarah
you want to do descending order: Ted Nugent, Sarah Palin, Chris Rock, Kid Rock. That's where my mind is. But they're all terrible people.
Yeah. All right. And speaking of terrible people, Michael Reagan, the son of Ronald Reagan.
Oh, don't mention it.
Apparently is taking offense to all of the unfairness that has bestruck Bill O'Reilly. And so he took to the Twitter and had this to say: hot chocolate, which I assume he meant hot chocolate, Because wasn't it that Bill O'Reilly referred to a woman?
That's hot chocolate.
They called a black woman he was harassing hot chocolate.
Yeah, hot chocolate.
And he made animal noises at her as well.
And Michael Reagan complains, hot chocolate used to be a compliment on your looks. Today, it is called sexual harassment. Now, I'm going to do him in this tweet. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because he does at O'Reilly Factor, and it could have been just one that was informational. FYI, Bill O'Reilly, hot chocolate used to be a compliment on your looks, but today it's called sexual harassment. Which, I mean...
doing O'Reilly a solid.
Yeah, it was always sexual harassment, but maybe Reagan was just saying, Bill, I understand that you thought it was a compliment, but today it's considered sexual harassment. But the reason why I think that interpretation might be too generous is because of his subsequent tweet, which was Michael Reagan writing, if women are going to wear low-cut dresses that show cleavage, don't be harassed when we men look. Or should we sue for sexual arousal?
Someone's been watching live
Now,
Dennis Miller
I'll tell you
appearances.
something. I actually think that there is an argument that the idea of contemplating Michael Reagan as sexually aroused is sue-worthy. Because I genuinely feel like I have been in some way like fundamentally disturbed and damaged.
We were all scarred by that.
So there it is. The Bill
He's
O'Reilly.
my loser son.
Sued for sexual arousal sounds like the type of thought you might have on 420 if you're a regular pot smoker.
Even when I had Alzheimer's, I still hated Michael. He was always my worst son.
The funny part is, I think like the calculation like a Michael Reagan makes is that the only people who are still going to be behind Bill O'Reilly are old, white, bigots, misogynists. And I think Reagan's probably at the age where he's like, now it's time to cash in the final chips. So I'm just going to go for those guys who are going around looking for somebody now, right? Like, where are all these Bill O'Reilly people going to go?
Hey, Mikey Reagan, great Twitter material. Maybe we should go on an Alzheimer's tour together.
Bum, 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 bum. All right, let's go to the IMs here. Oh, here we go. Get these going. Rick Fain, Thump is a billionaire. He can just pay for the wall and collect from Mexico later. Joseph Ballin. All right. I'm going to read some of it. Tulsi has the neocons on the run if establishment folks like you and Howard Dean and Neera Tanden are attacking her. Here. For someone who claims to be anti-establishment, you take whatever the U.S. government tells you as gospel. So an chemical attack happens a few days after the Trump administration states it won't seek regime change in Syria, and then does a complete 180. Isn't it all specious? Well, it is specious. That was the deep state telling Trump that you will do what we will tell you to do. And notice how it was the white helmets who were first to show up on the scene of the attack. I guess people like me, Jimmy Dore, Max Blumenthal, Ben Norton, Chris Hedges, Abby Martin, Rick Sterling are all secretly working for Russia or Assad apologists calling for the white helmets, NATO-backed terrorists, calling for the white helmets. Well, I don't know that you're secretly working for Russia. Or are Assad apologists calling for the white helmet?
Oh, you are an Assad apologist, for sure. You definitely are.
Susan Truesdale. Susan Truesdale. Oh, it's Noah the intern's mom. Hello, Susan.
Hey.
So excited because Michael and I are going to see Andy tonight at the Velveeta Room. Whoa! By the way, moon tower refers to a specific kind of late 19th century street lighting moon towers. They cast a round ball of light. Austin is often called the Moon Tower City because no one else has them anymore. One more thing that makes our city special. Noah sends his love. Hi, Noah. Enjoy Andy tonight. M. DeWitt, Dennis Miller sounds like he's trying to do an Andrew Dice Clay impression. It's funny, Bill O'Reilly doesn't recognize white privilege, but he knows Dennis Miller lives in an affluent area. I'm surprised Dennis Miller took this turn. I thought he was funny on SNL when I was younger. Disappointed when I met Victoria Jackson after I learned she was a crazy Tea Partier. She's fantastic. I miss her a little bit. Colin Doucette, Trump draw-free. I have no ties with Ramsey Bolton. I haven't made deals with Ramsey Bolton. I have no relationship with Ramsey Bolton. But in a certain sense, he's a great guy. Wu-Tang Clang. I mean, go outside less than Jack Torrance after the big snowfall at the Overlook Hotel. Blip, blip, boop, bop, bap. I like Boo Radley has more friends than I do. Know what I mean, Billy Boy? Tick, 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 tock. I tell you, anyone not white. Know what I'm talking about? New Human. That idea for Cyrano Roxanne reimagining starring O'Reilly and the D-Man is gold. Kyle's wife, a kindergartner, came up to me at school and said, Miss Lee, I got to tell you something. Chicken nugget, brown bear, Donald Trump's hair. Solemnly nodded and then walked away. That's funny. I wish I had recorded this, but Saul said to me the other day, Dad, jetpacks are cool. If you see one, will you buy one for me? I'm like, what? Are you messing with me? I thought he was like just messing with me. And then he cried because I was like, tell me, have you been listening to the show? In the sticks, my BF came home the other day after meeting with GOP lawmakers and their staff. He said, I could be a communications person for those guys. And I said, yeah, you better sell your soul and learn to lie better. You guys could grift and make more if you just went to Ken, Ken, and Ken format. Just saying.
Without a doubt, we would be loaded.
Matt in the BK on the iPad. What's the over-under on the combined IQ of the Oval Office? 175? I still worry about Jesse Waters ending up sleeping in Penn Station. If the photo of the morons in the White House was Photoshop shown last October, we'd have laughed. Now I want to cry. Death Camp for QLax. Hey, Sam, I got a casual comment for Casual Friday. If renewable energy made up 100% of the market, the wholesale price of electricity would be depressed significantly, deterring non-subsidized investment and growth. Renewables like solar are inherently deflationary. That is, by reducing prices for hours when solar operates, solar eventually reduces its own economic competitiveness. See the merit order effect. The dominance of the market-based economy will continually stand in the way of transition to renewables. Given the urgent state of the climate where mass global food shortages, human displacement, and resource wars are certain within our lifetime, now more than ever, we need a violent proletarian uprising with a vanguard party to assume state power on behalf of the proletariat and the creation of a single-party authoritarian socialist state with abolition of all capitalist markets. That's it. Have a good weekend. Neff, not discounting Andy, but check out Ricky Gervais' Facebook page for a fuller picture and then discuss next time when Andy's on the show. I, too, am saddened by Dennis Miller's total change after he lost it and flipped because of 9/11.
I was a Ricky Gervais fan, mainly his radio show I thought was funny. I listened to late in high school, and I think he has not transitioned well to the social media age. Like, he started a blog, and then he got on Twitter, and I think of him similarly to Dawkins in that way.
Bullprog. I love it when you have Andy Hamburger on. One more Nick. No wonder Dennis Miller hates poor people. Apparently, in his world, they're so lazy, they don't even take free handouts. Falufa. Let's see. The Rubin report. Did you guys see Rubin's report on O'Reilly? I don't know what Bill O'Reilly did or didn't do. But the rejoicing of the destruction of public people is becoming increasingly dangerous.
I don't know, but is a good formulation for David Rubin. I don't know, but I'm going to comment on something anyway.
I mean, you do know for sure that he had to settle multiple sexual harassment claims. It's impossible to know if Bill O'Reilly actually did those things, right? But it is perfectly possible to know that he paid a lot of money repeatedly to do that. Now, is that definitive proof? No. I mean, if you see, an apple tree and there's a bunch of apples in the tree, and then you come back, at the end of the season, there's a bunch of apples on the ground. It's quite possible Someone came, picked all those apples, brought in a whole new set of apples and put them on the ground. That's possible. But I want to know why the rejoicing of destruction of public people is becoming increasingly dangerous. I don't even understand that. I mean, we've seen this from Fatty Arbuckle. Why
Was
is
he a rapist? Is that what emerged about him?
I don't even remember.
Gary
But
Glitter?
I just know that there was a tremendous amount of
I mean, the
of rejoicing.
snowflake culture was so upset that Gary Glitter was a child molester. It was really upsetting.
Who are
to
the
watch
snowflakes that are worried about the destruction of public people?
We realize
those are
where
like public snowflakes.
These are yes. That's the snow. That's the inverse snowflake. Not upset about the massive harm to everyone involved, except for the person doing the actual thing.
I remember when Dave Rubin was out there, really upset at the public destruction of like Hillary Clinton.
Oh yeah, super upset. Yeah, he did a lot of videos on that.
That was a great time. I enjoyed this Maxine Waters on Joe Scarborough today. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I will say this. During the Bush administration, I guess it must have been in 2005, maybe early 2006, I moderated an impeachment forum with Elizabeth Holtzman, John Conyers, Louis Lapham, one or two others, maybe Michael Ratner, I think. And John Conyers had a book this big on which contained information, a three-ring binder type of situation, that was going to be used in impeachment hearings. It is so important to be building the case. And, you know, both, you know, you have an emoluments lawsuit that's going forward, being brought by Lawrence Tribe and Zephyr Teachout and one or two other attorneys representing not only Crew, but actually two other people who have a far less contentious standing to bring the. But there also needs to be a push politically for impeachment. So good for Maxine Waters, who must be feeling pretty good seeing Bill O'Reilly drop and feeling like. Just days after he was mocking her hair and couldn't listen to her because of her hair, it was all sort of like
that hot chocolate's gone out to pasture.
But here is Maxine Waters on Morning Joe, where Morning Joe is trying to play the sort of reasonable. Let's see if I can get her to back off her incendiary statements.
No, I wasn't at the inauguration speech, and I've not been at any of the ceremonial activities with this president.
Yeah, and the reason why wasn't a sign of disrespect. From what I heard, you said that you wanted to be respectful and that you might get a little emotional and might shout something out.
No. It's not that. It's just that I don't honor him. I don't respect this president. I don't think that he deserves to be president of this great country. I am very concerned about him, and I really think he's dangerous. And Joe, I don't know if you've seen the 6-part series that the LA Times wrote about him. It is scathing. I've never seen editorials like this before in my life. And so, we continue to talk about him as if this is normal. Mika, this is abnormal, what we're experiencing with this president.
It is indeed. I mean, it really is indeed. And it's beyond abnormal. I mean, the level of corruption in the White House right now, and you couple that with stuff like Jeff Sessions had to say today, and the level of incompetence and the failure to staff. This is, we're in an era that I think is going to be considered, assuming we get to the other side of it, really one of the greatest crises in the history of this country. And, the next one will be, of course, the global warming crisis that will hit because this administration went the opposite way.
Do you know if Joe Scarborough was referring to something specific when he said that she wasn't attending events because
Probably
she might
just reports.
scream something out?
Yeah, probably just reports.
Reports that she might scream something out?
I don't know if he was sort of, that's the thing. Like, I don't know, like he was sort of like cleverly sort of manufacturing that,
That's
or
like
he had read.
dog whistle.
Oh yes,
sure.
no, that's what he was
I
trying to
mean-
do. He was trying to say like, I'm going to try and paint you as hysterical by saying that like you couldn't control yourself if you went there. And I like the fact that she not only said, no, I could, didn't worry about denying that, but actually said, actually no, my critique is far
Right,
more
yeah.
harsh than that, and it's actually far more rational. And that's what I appreciated about that clip, because she basically just said, I get what you're trying to say, and let me just say, I'm going to make you look like you're a shill for not actually pointing out what I'm about to point out because it's so obvious.
Also, just a small note, her matte lipstick was looking really good. Not everyone can do matte lipstick.
Matt, do you want to weigh in on that? On your lipstick?
I can't.
Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anything more to that Rubin report tweet. They put it twice, so I don't know. Jimmy Reefer Cake. Play my Tulsi song. Oh! We got a Jimmy Reefer Cake song.
You should have it. Well, I think I emailed it to you earlier in the week.
Producer Lauren, nothing. Maliki Tulis. I've tried to get you guys to read this off of All Hypocrisy for days. Please read the whole thing. Madman Michael Brooks. Over the years, your alpha, Sam Seder, has debated countless libertarian callers, from did Ford know the Pinto would blow up to should I have the right to buy whatever light bulbs and slaves I want, to Professor Walter Block and even the great Darrell Perry. Old Matt debated a men's rights activist, and you yourself even debated a scholar of Islam and great effing guy, Sargon of Akkad. So the question remains, why will you not debate Jimmy Reefer Cake? Are you not prepared to defend all your different Russia tracks, you smug cuckatude, or your irrational disdain towards Tulsi Gabbard? I look forward to hearing from you this Reefer Cake Reaction Friday at 4:20 ET. Stop being a cuck. Signed, Right-Wing Mandela.
First of all, right-wing Mandela would not like Jimmy Reefer Cake. You're really abusing the character. And if Jimmy pays me money and gets to, like, I don't know, 6,000 Twitter followers?
What?
Why?
Why
Playing a
is
numbers
that?
game here. I didn't debate
Sargon
Sargon.
drove traffic.
Yeah, Sargon drove. But also, I don't understand. Most of the debates that you said with Sam were people called into the show. Jimmy can call into the show anytime. He took his call the other day.
We're not taking calls.
The next time I host, Jimmy, you can call again.
Okay, let's hear the Jimmy Reefer Cake song.
These rich hypocrite Democrat bitches giving women politicians a bad name. I hope I never have to mention Hillary's name in another one of my songs.
You don't have
to. Cause I'm singing about another kind of woman politician who proves that they ain't all the same. She wants to legalize weed and she refuses to believe in the latest Trump DOD claim. I'm talking about Tulsi Gabbard. And you better not be talking any shit about her. Oh, Tulsi is the woman who can lead. She understands what we need. A pipeline's not a reason to bleed. And she's gonna legalize the weed. God damn it, I love you, Tulsi. Tulsi Gabbard. And you better not be talking any shit. No, don't talk shit about her. All you motherfucking hypocrite Democrat establishment motherfucking warhawk John McCain motherfucking asshole pieces of shit. Go ahead and you be talking about her. Go on and you talking. You keep talking shit about Tulsi.
That's very sweet.
I concede the debate. Tulsi Gabbard's amazing. Incidentally, is there anyone in the universe of the Majority Report who has a jingle writing talent? It's just a general question. I'm just curious.
Well, no.
I would say Reagan needs a song, incidentally.
That was the Tulsi Gabbard song. Jimmy really likes Tulsi Gabbard. Let's see. Jake the Snake. Every time I listen to Jimmy Refugate Colin, I move ever closer to supporting prohibition. What are Smoothie, D-Money, and Shifty putting in their weed up there? D-Man. Yeah, I'm on the outs, but I learned a lot from the factor. Oh, okay, sorry. D-Man. Yeah, I'm on the outs, but I learned a lot from the factor. Soaked it in like a loofah. Now, as far as what's next, maybe Schmarma Cloth infomercials or Hannity's show. If only I could get a hold of the guy, maybe I'd dial 0 and ask for Susan Rice. Seriously, though, if anyone has Sean's number, it's not like it's like no one calls Sean Hannity anymore. Hespersus Valmic. What's the name of Build a Wall song that came before Cliff Schecter came on?
Tear It Down by Spoon.
Juniper J, you guys hate atheists? WTF? I don't think we hate atheists.
No, we hate dumb new atheist writers like Sam Harris.
With no historical background.
Yes.
I am
I would assume some people
avowedly pro-atheist. But I think I'm probably...
I am one.
Well, wait a second. Also, the free music is not worth... Okay. Tulsi is a vile homophobe. G-Lo
Yes.
Smiley. I used to enjoy Law and Order SVU, but now I'm like, MFer, I want less iced tea. Justin, okay. Wally Zona. The biggest applause by far at the Women's March was for Hillary, definitely not Bernie. Thames Darwin. 2 things, Sam. First, can you ask Michael to do a wasted Sam cursing about politics as whiny Jew? And second, thanks for making MR so great. Where else can I tune in to hear 2 D-list stand-up comedians talk about how unfunny a third one is? Just kidding, you guys are totally C-list. 2 things, Sam. First,
okay. Oh, it was a repeat?
Yeah.
So then Ted Cruz is up there, and he doesn't know anything about Social Security actuarial tables. Fucking idiot. And now Ryan Zink's going to come up there. And we watch this because he's saying it's a risk pool. You don't want risk pools. Give me another beer.
It's kind of like watching debates with you.
Yeah, the D-man will now have to be the F-man for fail man. He can have that joke. It's just as outdated as the rest of his material. Maui Vegan. Gabbard is my rep. She is right-wing to the core. She's the only Dem. She's only a Dem because she's in Hawaii.
She voted for, I don't know that she's right-wing to the core, but I don't understand how this is the last serious point I'll make with regards to Jimmy and Tulsi. Muslim ban on refugees in 2015, which is as close to unforgivable as you can get as far as I'm concerned. And at the beginning of her career, she was absolutely, not only, she was a leader in Hawaii legislature against marriage equality. And her pivot has been, I don't legislate morality anymore. She's never recanted on that. And I have a problem with that. I'm not really into virulent homophobia.
Wait, you're not?
Yeah, I know. Shocking
so weird.
as it may be.
Thank you. Clarification.
Ivanka's bad. Homophobia
Lawn
is
chair
bad.
media, bap. It's like that time that scumbag was fired from Fox News, multiple harassment cases, and they stopped booking me. Then I found myself auditioning for Flomax and Cialis commercials aired during the Ancient Aliens. Commercial breaks are now Miller time. Geek Wonk. When did it become progressive position to buy whatever the barrel-bombing mass murder of Damascus says? How can folks say we have to question power but imbibe any propaganda as long as it's from a foreign power?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Finally, as smart I am about this.
Assad has been very good on income inequality. The DX Fool. Have you forgotten?
Ballin tweeted me. First of all, these are questionable claims in and of themselves, but it was like, if you gave your people universal health care, maybe you'd be a little bit militaristic
The
too.
DX Fool. You forgot to ask Andy if he was going to attend the Alex Jones custody trial in Austin. Can't believe Andy's the same age as Carrie Fisher was. I don't think that's true. Hister Clary. Not only is Trigger the horse stuff, so is Roy Rogers' dog Bullet. My baby boomer dad used to make a joke about Roy Rogers ending up stuffed in the museum next to Trigger. Attorney Andrew. Just read the first chapter of Shattered, the book on the Clinton campaign. Amazing that Clinton struggled so much to figure out why she wanted to be president, how that issue plagued her for the entire campaign. It's something out of the show Veep, where she stumbles around for a day trying to figure out what her previous position was on abortion. Also, a reminder that during SCOTUS's next term, they'll hear cases discussing arbitration waivers in employment and may look to extend Concepcion and Italian colors. Finally, I'd suggest everyone read Breyer's dissent in SCOTUS' latest refusal for stay of execution involving Arkansas death row inmate Leto Lee. He was executed last night. Breyer's dissent highlights that Arkansas' apparent reason for executing Lee now was that the lethal injection drugs, yes, were about to expire. They're about to expire on the 28th. That was what I was saying. And they can't purchase this stuff anymore because no one wants to make it. And so they can't figure out a supposedly humane way of killing people. Letter carrier. The way you tell Alex Jones isn't Bill Hicks because the D-man has never purposely ripped off Jones. Scrump style. I felt so sorry for the usually smart and funny Trey Crowder in that bit with Rubin. He's become famous overnight and needs to vet appearances better. Chris Burdick. Sometimes I hear Andy go off on a chunk about his bar mitzvah, the matzo ball soup at Cantor's, and I think, stop being such a stereotypical Quaker. Hugo Ball, too. I just watched a bit from an old FX show, and Andy pitched a fresh smoothie franchise run by From Orthodox called Juice. Rick, can you talk about water crisis in Ranger, Texas? Send us a link about that. Jay Boo. I thought your war with Pacman was because you stole Lewis and made him change his name to Matt and use a deeper voice. Too much. When Michael talks like Lindsey Graham, he sounds like a Towley from South Park, but with richer political background. Kaiki the Cuck. Ever since you signed my shofar at the live show, I'm unable to blow a tequila gadola with it. Instead, it plays short and seemingly random stabs, but upon playing for a ham radio operator friend of mine, he was able to determine that the sounds emanating from my shofar when I blew it was actually a Social Security Trust Fund report in Morse code. Bless you, Sam, and your mystical Hebrew magics. Flint. Oh, this is too long. But international relations filled with complicated problems, but in an individualistic society, everyone wants to feel relevant. So it's much easier to find an intellectually degrading source of information that criticizes everything the past administration did if it justifies their recent inability critically. I don't even think that they realize they're apologizing for the horrendous crimes committed by the Assad regime and the blatantly obvious oppression coming from under Putin's control. They just don't like feeling stupid, but they may very well be too intellectually lazy to rectify that deficit.
That's right.
Aaron's brain. I'm free. Binder Dad can't listen live today, but hoping to get a 63rd shofar to enjoy later on.
Happy birthday.
Binder's dad, here you are. Happy birthday. It's great to finally meet him at the show. Andrew from Idaho, the new current affairs article on how the West Wing mirrors modern liberalism. I watched the first few episodes and it helped me make sense of the election. Make this election about smart and not, and make it about engaged and not qualified, and make it about a heavyweight, Toby Ziegler. They've completely lost sight from where political power comes from and have confused process with the exercise of power. I think you're right. Savior's blow. Let's see. My Ohana and I saw Tulsi's Maui town hall last night. The venue had to be switched to a larger auditorium due to enormous RSVPs to her website. Well over 1,000 Maui restaurants came on a weeknight to show support for her accurate representation of we, her constituents, of people of Aloha. It's irrelevant to us if you're establishment dem ass and those of your outsider wannabe insider boobalas do not approve of our choice of representation. You can vote for who you want to. I mean, why don't you work on your own state's issues like your tool boy Cuomo problem, a Wall Street upchuck? Yes,
we do.
We do.
In fact, you know what? If people didn't come to us and talk like Tulsi was some sort of savior and she didn't do some genuinely horrible things, like I might add again, a Syrian refugee ban vote, we would probably never talk about her at all.
We would never talk about Tulsi Gabbard if people didn't bring her first.
And we spent far more. Are you Andrew Cuomo? Do you know? There was a period of time we were talking about Andrew Cuomo so much where Sam almost needed intervention.
Her dad is the homophobe, not her.
No, she worked on those issues when she was in the legislature in her 20s. That's not so it's inaccurate. That's her record.
Jay Tingle. Friday morning Sam Patter. You're wearing those tight, skinny jeans today, Matt. They make your butt look good. Press that button on the 360. Sounds like a wild boar grunting. Also, tell Mindy thank you for the pretzels. Cecil Hardboner. Jimmy, one trick pony, reefer cake. SF Sutra, Tulsi is cute and weed and stuff. See previous song. Johnny Ganja, I'm here if you need me, guys. Johnny Ganja Cookie, I'm here if you need me, guys. Senator Cuck Schumer, I was planning on smoking a joint this afternoon, but that reefer cake song convinced me not to. I'm currently riding on the benzodiazepines. Also, thanks for throwing me light. Also, Tulsi is Ron Paul for liberals. Acid Juice, how much time does Sam spend scratching his wrist? Triangle Bill, sorry, was not one of Jimmy's finest works. Hey, are you planning to attend marches, rallies for science and Earth Day this Saturday or next Saturday? If we're doing something in New York, next Saturday, I think I'll be able to. Really cool. Reverse snowflakeism. Fits right in with today's fluffy orange schadenfreude. Billy Buckner. How about the journalist asking Tulsi if she's ever been in a room on a call with Eric Prince? How about a Democrat asking her that? Jamal Bloodhound. Matt, you have no patience for movies, but do you for football?
No, I prefer basketball.
Chris Lapaco. Just bought some cherry Coke with Dennis Miller's face on it. It came out flat and tasted like a homeless person's piss. Callie missed the point of my IM yesterday. Not all of your content is demonetized. For the stuff that still has commercials playing before it, if everyone watches those commercials all the way through, will you make money? I mean, yeah, it won't hurt. But the problem is that the commercials that are there, the volume of commercials has been so greatly reduced. But yes, obviously, if you watch all the commercials, I think we do better. But it's not. That's not the.
Yeah, I mean, in this particular situation, it's my point was just that one of our revenue streams has been decimated, so we're going to try to give some other options that hopefully people can pitch in. It does help to watch people's YouTube ads all the way through. Absolutely. It's not going to have a huge effect on this.
Drewski, Twitter account was temporarily locked because I said brave must be the new word for effing retarded when replying to someone who called Ruben brave for that comment. Bada bing, bada boom, you penniless yellow snowflake. Marxist Revolution. Have you all reminded everyone about the March for Science tomorrow? I'm going to one in Houston, Texas. We did just a moment ago. Tam Folger, did you already discuss Scotty B? We did yesterday. Fartface69, Michael Brooks is the men's section of Forever 21. And the final IM of the day, of the week. Chicago Dawn, the Doron support Gabbard. That's all you need to know. Jimmy has lost it. He's a one-issue voter, doesn't get politics behind his issues, e.g. Trump and Clinton policies on weed. All right, folks, see you next week.
It might take all the strength I got to get to where I want, but I know somehow I'm gonna get there. I wasn't looking when I just got caught between the truth and the light bar, but finding out won't make me feel any better. Yeah, I know the clock is ticking, but the meds are gonna kick in, and my pilot light's shining bright. I get somewhere the choice was made, for the option where you don't get paid, for the road that bends before it finally breaks you. I guess somehow I lost my drive between the 101 and the 5. Do you know how far the detour takes you? Yeah, I know the clock is ticking, but the meds are gonna kick in, and my pilot light shining bright. The months drifted into years, while I shifted in and out of gear, waiting for my moment to happen. I don't know how much longer I can stay in, or how much more I got to pay to play in. I know somehow the lights got graded, somewhere before the credits faded, but my